Chapter 7:16. Master, there's something I haven't told you? Long Fei walked into the room and asked, do you know why there are so many people in the Spirit City recently? I'm not interested. The girl's reply made Long Fei's face stiffen. He said sadly, Master, something has happened in the Forest of No Return. The Forest of No Return? I just came from that place. How come I don't know that something has happened in the Forest of No Return? This? Long Fei and the middle-aged man looked at each other and finally made up their minds. They faced Yun Luofeng and said, have you heard that there are many treasures in the Forest of No Return? That's why the Chancellor of the Spirit City has gathered countless experts to attack the Forest of No Return. Yun Luofeng paused. Enter the Forest of No Return? They shouldn't have the ability to do so. Long Fei laughed bitterly. Actually, the real situation is not what they heard. The Chancellor of the Spirit City lied to them. There are no treasures in the Forest of No Return. He just wants to gather a group of people to be his cannon fodder. Cannon fodder? That's right. Something big has happened in the Forest of No Return. All the Beast Kings have been sealed. Therefore, when the Chancellor of the Spirit City heard this news, he wanted to take advantage of the Beast King's inability to fight to unify the entire Forest of No Return. Unify the entire Forest of No Return? The Chancellor of the Spirit City was indeed ambitious. He still doesn't have the ability to do so. Yun Luofeng picked up the teacup in front of him and took a sip, smiling faintly. Master. Plop. Long Fei knelt on one knee in front of Yun Luofeng and raised his head, looking straight at the beautiful girl in front of him. I have some friendship with the spiritual beasts in the Forest of No Return. I don't want those spiritual beasts to be captured and slaughtered by humans. Therefore, I would like to ask you for a favor. Give me a reason to help. Reason? Long Fei was very conflicted. Did he really have to tell his master about that? Master. Long Fei looked at the middle-aged man. Although his master was usually unreliable, there were some things that he still needed his decision on. Tell her. The middle-aged man sighed. Your master has been working too hard all these years. If it weren't for those stubborn old people, she wouldn't be like this. Long Fei smiled bitterly. He didn't expect that, in the end, he still needed to bring out his master's name to convince her. Master, haven't you always wanted to know how I successfully passed through the Forest of No Return? Long Fei said helplessly. Because my master is one of the Beast Kings in the Forest of No Return. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. Your master is a spirit beast? Not only that, the person Tianya has been looking for is also my master. Hua! Yun Luofeng suddenly stood up from her chair. Her hand accidentally knocked over the teacup. The boiling hot tea splashed onto her hand, but she did not feel it at all. Yun Xiao frowned slightly. He took out a handkerchief and wiped the tea on the back of the young girl's hand. As he looked at the back of her hand that had been scalded red, a trace of heartache gradually emerged in his cold gaze. Long Fei, is what you said true? Yun Luofeng could no longer care about anything else. His black eyes were fixed on Long Fei. She really didn't want to be nosy. However, if that person was a woman from World's Edge, then things would be different. No matter what, she couldn't let World's Edge's woman come to any harm. That year, my master ignored the obstruction of others and insisted on staying with World's Edge. I didn't expect that there would be such a misunderstanding. Chapter 7:17. She has an unyielding personality and a fiery temper. In addition, she was so angry that she did not even realize that it was a trap. She left Tianya in a fit of rage and returned to the Forest of No Return. Once she returns to the Forest of No Return, she will never be able to leave that place, and the other Beast Kings will never let her go. That is why I did not tell you the truth. Otherwise, if Tianya and my master meet, my master will disregard everything and leave with him. When that happens, she will definitely offend the other Beast Kings. Long Fei glanced at Yun Luofeng and continued, in this way, not only Tianya, but even my master will be implicated by her. Yun Luofeng stroked his chin with his fingers and glanced at the middle-aged man. I heard that the Beast Kings in the Forest of No Return are all Holy Spirit beasts. If he is your master's junior brother, he must be a beast king too. However, I feel that he has not broken through to the Holy Spirit beast realm. Long Fei was about to explain when the middle-aged man interrupted him. Holy Spirit beast? That was a few years ago. A few years ago, all the Holy Spirit beasts in the forest of no return disappeared. Senior and I are the new generation of beast kings. We are not that powerful. However, this is a secret of the forest of no return, and even the humans do not know about it. Indeed, if the humans knew about the disappearance of the Holy Spirit beasts, the forest of no return would never have a day of peace. Master is my savior. A few years ago, when I was carrying out an assassin's mission, I was seriously injured and accidentally entered the forest of no return. It was Master who saved me and made me stay despite the opposition of the other beast kings. I cannot let her be in any danger. Please help me, Master. I am willing to work for you for the rest of my life. Long Fei kowtowed heavily twice and gritted his teeth as he spoke. If he could save his master, not to mention working for her for the rest of his life, he would even be willing to go to hell. When do we leave? Yun Luofeng took a deep breath. Since Long Fei's master was Tianya's woman, she could not ignore it. Long Fei was overjoyed and stood up from the ground. I heard that in 3 days, the Chancellor of the Spirit City will be heading towards the forest of no return. We will follow that group and sneak in. Go and get ready. We'll depart in 3 days. Yun Luofeng slowly sat down and lazily leaned against the back of the chair. He raised his eyebrows slightly. However, I can only do my best. I cannot guarantee that I will be able to help you save them. Master, I believe in you, Long Fei said with a smile. Everyone in Long Yuan country calls you a pervert. There's nothing you can't do in this world. Pervert? Yun Luofeng rubbed his forehead and turned to look at Yun Xiao, who was behind him. Do the people of Long Yuan country call me that? Yun Xiao pondered for a moment. You're a demon, not a pervert. It was a demon that could bewitch people's hearts. Yun Luofeng raised his hand and pinched Yun Xiao's handsome face, the smile on his face seductively charming. I think that you're the one who's tormenting people. Looking at the two flirting, Long Fei's expression was a little awkward. Martial uncle, I think we should go out. Go out? Why? The middle-aged man stared at him and asked in confusion. Idiot! Long Fei scolded in his heart. Didn't he know that the two of them were an eyesore here? Martial uncle, I'll bring you to a brothel. Don't cause trouble here. Long Fei pulled the middle-aged man and walked out. Chapter 7:18. A brothel? His eyes lit up and he hurriedly followed Long Fei out. At least you're sensible and know how to show filial respect to your senior uncle. I've just heard that there's a brothel in the Spirit City where the girls are all very beautiful. Let's go. Let's go now. The Chancellor's mansion. Lin Yuan gently stroked the painting on the table in the luxurious study. His eyes were filled with gentleness. The woman in the painting was dressed in green robes and looked graceful and moving. She held a jade flute in her hand and sat mischievously on a treetop. Her eyes were filled with smiles. Her smile was like a warm ray of sunlight that gradually spread across the dull land, forming a wonderful scenery. Bliss? Lin Yuan lowered his body and gently licked the painting. He looked very pleased as he murmured, I don't care if you're a human or a spiritual beast. I want you, even if I have to burn the entire forest of no return. He would not have dared to think of such a thing in the past. However, not too long ago he had received a piece of news. The Beast King in the forest of no return had been sealed. Was this not the opportunity that the heavens had given him after seeing how much he had yearned for her for so many years? Father. A clear and cold voice rang out from the door, causing Lin Yuan to hurriedly put the painting away in his hand. He coughed dryly and said, Come in. The door was slowly pushed open. A young girl slowly walked in under the sunlight. Her fine black hair fluttered in the wind and her expression was clear and cold. Her delicate features glowed slightly under the sunlight. Ruoxin, you're back? Lin Yuan no longer looked as wretched as before. He spoke with a serious look on his face. There's only 3 more days before we head to the forest of no return. When the time comes, you should make your preparations. Furthermore, there's no lack of young geniuses among the cultivators I found this time. You can find one of them to marry." Lin Ruoxin paused. At this moment, a cold and grim face appeared in her mind. "Father, I think I've already found a candidate for my future husband." "Oh." Lin Yuan looked at Lin Ruoxin. "I wonder who that person is. Have you brought him to see me?" Lin Ruoxin shook her head. "He's still under my inspection. Once he passes my inspection, I'll marry him immediately." Hearing this, Lin Yuan did not say anything. He had always been at ease with his daughter's judgment. "Since that is the case, you can make your own decision. Go down first." Lin Yuan waved his hand and said indifferently, "Yes." Lin Ruoxin bowed and left the study. The moment she left, she heaved a sigh of relief. Earlier, she was really afraid that her father would interrogate her about her identity. At that time, her father would definitely send someone to investigate her. This would definitely disrupt her plan. Lin Ruoxin thought that Lin Yuan didn't question her because he trusted her. Little did she know that he just wanted her to leave as soon as possible. The moment Lin Ruoxin closed the door, Lin Yuan took out the painting again. He stuck out his disgusting tongue and licked it from top to bottom. It was as if he was licking a real person. Especially when he was licking the woman in the painting, he even let out lewd moans. 3 days later, it was the day when the experts from the Spirit City would head to the Forest of No Return. Early in the morning, the entire city gate was surrounded. By the time Yun Luofeng and the others reached the city gate, the road had already been blocked so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. "Everyone!" Lin Yuan raised his hand. In an instant, the noisy city gate quietened down. He cleared his throat and continued, "I'm sure everyone already knows that we're heading to the Forest of No Return this time. As the saying goes, fortune comes from danger. Even if this trip is dangerous, if you come out alive, your strength will definitely improve." Chapter 719. However, Lin Yuan paused. "I've heard that the beast kings in the Forest of No Return are unable to come out and fight us. We only need to deal with the other spiritual beasts. This way, this mission won't be as difficult as you think." Whoosh! The crowd suddenly stirred. Lin Yuan's words were like a pebble that had been thrown into a calm lake, stirring up a wave. "City Lord, there's something I don't understand. Since this mission isn't very dangerous, why did you inform us to go together?" Lin Yuan smiled and replied frankly, "I, Lin Yuan, have never been the kind of person who would monopolize treasures. Since a treasure has been born in the Forest of No Return, it needs to be shared with the world. This has always been my principle." The crowd's eyes were filled with gratitude, and some were even filled with respect. "The city lord has always been a very noble person. I've never seen anyone with a better character than him in my life. If it was anyone else, they would definitely monopolize any treasure. Only the city lord would want to share it with us. Long live the city lord." A series of loud cheers erupted at the city gate. Unsurprisingly, Lin Yuan's words had already caused everyone to believe him without the slightest doubt. "Hypocrite!" Long Fei scoffed and said mockingly. His voice was extremely soft, and coupled with the fact that it was drowned out by the loud cheers, no one noticed his existence. Lin Yuan raised his hand to stop them once more, and he smiled indifferently. "Besides that, I'm not entering the Forest of No Return for any treasures. I'm merely bringing my daughter to temper herself. So, I won't take any treasures in the Forest of No Return. It's all up to you to distribute." His voice fell into the crowd and caused another commotion. Some people were so moved that they began to cry. In their entire lives, they had never seen anyone more selfless than Lin Yuan. If he wasn't a gentleman, who would be? Lin Yuan laughed coldly in his heart as he looked at the grateful expressions on their faces. What a bunch of idiots! How would he know what treasures would be in the Forest of No Return? He had only entered this place to find that woman. It was funny that these people were still so grateful to him, even though he had treated them as cannon fodder. However, there were exceptions to everything. Lin Yuan suddenly realized that there was a small group of people who weren't moved by this. Instead, they stood there indifferently. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but from their faces he actually saw disdain. Cough, cough. Lin Yuan coughed dryly. His sharp gaze swept towards Yun Luofeng and the others as he asked indifferently, I wonder if the four of you have any thoughts? Among the four, there was only one middle-aged man. The other three were all very young. The most dazzling ones were the man and woman standing in front of them. The woman was dressed in white and was extremely beautiful. She leaned lazily against the city wall and her pitch-black eyes were filled with a smile. The black-robed man standing beside her had a cold look in his eyes. His face was expressionless, as if nothing could change his expression. He was like a god, quietly guarding the young girl, not moving at all. Who are these people? Who invited them? A dissatisfied voice suddenly rang out in the crowd. The city lord has done so much for us, yet these people still haven't expressed their gratitude. Such shamelessness is in contrast to the noble character of the city lord. Chapter 720. That's right. I don't expect them to be as noble as the city lord, but at least express their gratitude when the city lord has sacrificed so much. But what do they mean by this? They're just not expressing their gratitude. They even ignored the city lord's question. Everyone spoke one after another, expressing their disdain for Yun Luofeng and the rest. Long Fei was so angry that his heart, liver, spleen, kidney, and lungs were trembling. He coldly swept his gaze over the clamoring crowd, engraving each and every one of their appearances into his mind. When they reached the forest of no return, he would teach them a lesson. Indeed, Yun Luofeng finally spoke under the angry crowd. We are not as noble as the city lord, because I would not care about a woman's portrait. Lin Yuan was stunned for a moment, and panic flashed across his eyes. She knew. How did she know? Even his own daughter did not know about this, so how did this woman know? Who was she? Long Fei also looked at Yun Luofeng doubtfully, his eyes full of confusion. Miss! Lin Yuan's face darkened. I don't know what enmity you have with me that caused you to accuse me like this. Everyone knows that I, Lin Yuan, am devoted to my wife and I don't even have a concubine. How dare you say that I am lustful towards a painting? Just because you don't have a concubine doesn't mean that you don't have a mistress. Lin Yuan's expression changed again. Miss, you have to be responsible for your words. I won't argue with you because you're young and ignorant, but the next time you speak, you have to show evidence. The crowd, which had originally quietened down, once again began to criticize Lin Yuan and Yun Luofeng. Those people were extremely furious. In their hearts, Lin Yuan was the most noble person. Yet this woman dared to accuse him. How could they tolerate this? Miss, the city lord has a good temper and won't argue with you. If it were us, we would have sent you flying with a slap. If you can't learn the city lord's nobility, then you should learn from Miss Ruoxin's indifferent personality. What you said is too immoral. If all the women in the world were like Miss Ruoxin, then all the men would be blessed. Unfortunately, some people can't even compare to a strand of Miss Ruoxin's hair. Slap! Before the young man could finish his words, he felt a slap on his face, which made him dizzy. He said angrily, Who hit me just now? Silence. The entire city gate was eerily quiet. The young man angrily grabbed the clothes of the person next to him and roared, Tell me, did you hit me just now? What's wrong with you? The man pushed the young man away with a palm, tidied up his clothes, and spat out a few words. You're crazy! Pa! Another slap came, and the young man's body was flung away. Everyone gasped at the sight of this. What the fuck? What the fuck? The young man crawled up from the ground. He no longer cared about cursing. His face turned from green to white, then from white to green. His eyes were filled with fear, and his body could not help but tremble. Nothing is more frightening than an invisible enemy. All right. Lin Yuan frowned slightly and looked at the young man. Is there something wrong with your body? I think you're having a cramp. It just so happens that my city lord's mansion has a doctor. Don't go this time. Go to my city lord's mansion to recuperate. The young man was clearly stunned. Cramp? But he clearly felt like he had been slapped? Chapter 7:21. The others didn't care about this young man. Their eyes were filled with realization. So it's a cramp. I was wondering how he could have been slapped by someone. I clearly didn't see anyone here. The city lord is so kind. He even provided the city lord's doctor to treat him. This is the first time I've seen such a kind expert. Everyone looked at the city lord with admiration. Their status in their hearts rose a little. Yun Luofeng glanced at the man standing beside her. Others didn't see it, but she clearly noticed that it was Yun Xiao who had made a move. Thinking of this, her lips curled into a smile. Yun Xiao, did you name your move? No. Yun Xiao answered honestly. Yun Luofeng rubbed his chin and blinked. Then from now on I'll call it hitting a cow through air. This was the legendary hitting a cow through air. Long Fei blinked in a daze. Wasn't this name too tacky? Just as he was about to say a few words, the man's deep voice slowly rang out. Okay. Okay? Did he just say okay? He could actually accept such a tacky name? Long Fei was completely speechless. Master's man really listened to her. That's right, Master. How did you know that Lin Yuan was looking at a painting? Long Fei seemed to have thought of something and asked. Yun Luofeng glanced at him. 3 days ago, after you said that, I sent milk tea to the city lord's office to check things out. I didn't expect him to see this scene. Long Fei originally thought that Yun Luofeng was just saying it casually. He didn't expect such a thing to really happen. He immediately turned to look at Su Zheng. Martial uncle, I didn't expect there to be someone more vulgar than you. At most, his martial uncle would sneak under her skirt and steal her underwear. No matter what, it was still better than looking at a painting and making such disgusting movements. Compared to him, his martial uncle was much more proper. Of course. Su Zheng raised his head and puffed out his chest. He was proud of himself. Your martial uncle, I am a high-class person. How can that kind of vulgar person be compared to me? I despise him. Long Fei rubbed his forehead. He really didn't want to know this person. Fortunately, everyone at the city gate surrounded Lin Yuan and his daughter. No one paid attention to Yun Luofeng and the others. Therefore, no one could hear what they were saying. City Lord, we still have one more thing to settle. These people are slandering you. How should we deal with them? Everyone knows that the city lord is infatuated with the city lord's wife and has never taken a concubine. There are very few people in the world who are so infatuated with the city lord. But she actually falsely accused the city lord of his feelings for the city lord's wife, and even claimed that he was holding a woman's portrait to fantasize about. This kind of thing can happen to anyone, but definitely not to the city lord. Many pairs of eyes glared angrily at Yun Luofeng, as if they wanted to eat her up. Yun Zhao's hand slowly lifted up again. Just then, Yun Luofeng pressed down on his hand, and a smile appeared on her beautiful face. I'll give you a word of advice. If you don't want others to know, then don't do it. Lin Yuan's heart trembled slightly. For some unknown reason, he felt that this young lady understood him too well. It seemed like she even knew the reason why he came to the forest of no return. What nonsense are you talking about? He pretended to be calm and said angrily, I'll only ask you one question. Are you sure you'll only contribute and not take the treasures from the forest of no return? That includes those precious medicinal herbs? Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes slightly, and the smile on his lips carried a trace of treachery. If he really found the treasures in the forest of no return, the feeling of not being able to get his hands on them would be exceptionally unbearable. But once he wanted those treasures, it would prove that everything he said was a lie. Chapter 7:22. Lin Yuan's expression darkened. What do you mean by that? Don't tell me that I, Lin Yuan, would go back on my word? Don't think that everyone in the world is like you. Everyone glared at Yun Luofeng in anger at Lin Yuan's righteous words. If someone who didn't know the truth had seen this, they might even think that Yun Luofeng had done something unbearable to them. Father? Lin Ruoxin gently frowned and looked at the girl who was standing lazily. She said indifferently, I don't think she said those words on purpose. Let's forget about it. Lin Yuan's expression gradually softened. He placed his hands behind his back and said righteously, "As the saying goes, the ignorant are not guilty. I can forgive you this time on account of your ignorance of my character. Next time, you'd better find out more about my character first." Long Fei's expression had already changed greatly. Just as he was about to speak, he saw Lin Yuan turn around and walk into the forest of no return. Yun Luofeng, the person in question, remained calm throughout. The corners of her lips curled into a devilish smile. She leaned lazily against the city wall, her eyes filled with an unfathomable light. "I've seen shameless people, but I've never seen anyone this shameless." Long Fei's eyes were cold and stern as he said expressionlessly, "When we reach the forest of no return, I'll definitely give them a taste of their own medicine." Su Zheng's expression was ugly as well. He stared coldly at the group who had entered the forest. A cold light flashed across his eyes. Yun Luofeng glanced at Su Zheng and curled her lips. "You're the beast king of the forest of no return after all. Why didn't you exterminate these people? Why did you let them enter the forest of no return?" Su Zheng's face was filled with helplessness. "If I could exterminate them, I would have done so long ago. Now, all the beast kings in the forest of no return have been sealed except for me. That's why I let these humans enter the forest of no return." Yun Luofeng raised her brows and looked at Su Zheng with a faint smile. "Lin Yuan will definitely find a way to break the seal in order to unify the forest of no return. It's just that I'm worried about them. That's why I asked Xiao Fei to invite you to the forest of no return. If not for this, he would have already started a massacre." Yun Luofeng was silent for a while, then continued to ask, "Once Lin Yuan breaks the seal, isn't that the same as releasing the other beast kings? If that's the case, won't he be in danger?" In her heart, Lin Yuan would never allow himself to be in such a dangerous situation. Su Zheng shook his head. "Even if he breaks the seal, the other beast kings won't be able to come out and fight. The forest of no return now has no other combat power apart from me." "Martial uncle." Long Fei's anxious voice suddenly sounded from the side. "Those people have already gone far away. Should we chase after them?" Su Zheng came back to his senses and nodded. "Let's go." After saying this, Su Zheng's body flashed and disappeared in front of them. Long Fei stopped thinking and hurriedly chased after him. "Yun Xiao, let's go." Yun Luofeng stretched lazily. His slightly narrowed eyes revealed a dangerous glint. "I will never allow anyone to touch Tian Ye's women." Yun Xiao paused and looked at Yun Luofeng with a resolute gaze. "The people you want to protect, I will help you protect. And one more sentence, the people you want to kill, I will definitely eradicate them for you." He didn't say this sentence, because Yun Luofeng knew everything. Chapter 723. The forest of no return stretched for thousands of miles. From time to time, a spiritual beast would scuttle out from the bushes, but it was quickly beheaded by Lin Yuan's subordinates. Yun Luofeng walked casually at the back of the crowd. Compared to the others who were tensed up, her expression was very relaxed. What a joke! The beast king of the forest of no return was right beside her. Why would she need to worry about those humans who would attack from time to time? Perhaps it was because of Su Zheng's beast king's oppression that no one dared to cause trouble for Yun Luofeng and the others. Lin Ruoxin glanced at Yun Xiao, who was walking at the back of the crowd. An inexplicable glint flashed across her clear eyes. Finally, she picked up a water bottle and walked towards Yun Xiao. "I saw that you didn't bring any water. This is the city lord's water bottle. I'll give it to you for the time being." She kept saying "you," but her gaze was only on Yun Xiao. The water bottle in her hand was also extended in front of him. Yun Xiao did not seem to notice her appearance. His gaze was fixed on Yun Luofeng, as if she was the only one in his eyes. He could no longer tolerate anyone else. Lin Ruoxin's expression did not look too good. She awkwardly extended her hand in front of Yun Xiao's eyes. She took a deep breath and was about to retract her hand when suddenly, a large, rough hand reached out from the side and snatched away her water bottle. Looks like the eldest miss of the city lord's manor is quite open-minded. Su Zheng sneered and said mockingly. Can't you see that he already has a wife and you still want to seduce him? The city lord's manor's upbringing is really good. They specially teach their daughters how to seduce other men. Although Su Zheng was a bit lecherous, he had his own standards. For example, he would never provoke a woman who already had a husband. So, this was also the reason why he did not take liberties with Yun Luofeng. Gulp. After throwing those words, Su Zheng opened the lid of the water bottle and drank it all in one gulp. He wiped the corner of his mouth and sneered. I'll taste the water to see if it's drugged. Based on your city lord's character, you might really do such a thing. Lin Ruoxin's expression instantly turned cold, and her clear eyes contained an intense storm. What did you just say? Lin Yuan clenched his fists tightly. My daughter was only giving you water out of goodwill. I didn't expect you to slander her like this. Looks like I can't be a good person in this world. Su Zheng snorted. He just couldn't stand the behavior of this pair of father and daughter, especially Lin Ruoxin. Don't think that he couldn't tell that this woman had only been glancing at Yun Xiao the entire way. If she didn't have such intentions, why would she not pay attention to so many people and insist on looking at Yun Xiao? Where did these people come from? Why are they always going against the city lord? He even misunderstood Miss Ruoxin's good intentions. With Miss Ruoxin's beauty and talent, any man would be easily attracted to her. Although this man is not bad-looking, he might not be a match for Miss Ruoxin with his strength. He didn't take the kettle just now because he knows his place. He knows that he's not compatible with Miss Ruoxin. Everyone shouted angrily, and their gazes swept over Yun Luofeng and the others like knives. Yun Luofeng was naturally protective. She could ignore what others said about her, but she could not insult the people around her. Therefore, when he heard this, Yun Luofeng laughed out loud and waved at the person who had spoken the last sentence. Come here. Chapter 724. It was a young man in a green robe. He looked rather handsome. When he saw Yun Luofeng waving at him, he was stunned. What do you want? The young girl smiled. You'll know when you come. The young man had been cursing to his heart's content just now. Now, when he saw the girl's beautiful smile, his entire body seemed to be drawn towards Yun Luofeng. Yes, that's good. Yun Luofeng continued to wave. Don't worry, I won't hit you. I just want to chat with you. The young man's heart fell back into his stomach. With Yun Luofeng's words, he did not need to worry about this woman sneaking an attack. Furthermore, he did not think that Yun Luofeng would have the guts to attack him. All right, I'm already here. If you have anything to say, you can. Before the young man could finish his sentence, Yun Luofeng kicked his stomach without warning. It was so fast that no one could react. The moment his body flew out, the young girl's evil voice came from in front of him. I won't hit you. I'll only kick you. Under the light wind, the young girl raised her eyebrows. Her eyes were smiling. All right, now we can chat. The entire forest fell into silence. Everyone stared at Yun Luofeng, dumbfounded. Didn't she say that she wouldn't hit him? Why did she suddenly attack now? What happened to the trust between people? The young man spat out a mouthful of blood and clutched his stomach tightly. His face was as white as paper. He said angrily, You're shameless. You flatter me. Yun Luofeng's face was still smiling. You're the 100th person to say that I'm shameless. So, I accept your compliment. Compliment? Compliment your sister. The young man spat out another mouthful of blood. He was so angry that he almost fainted. Long Fei's eyes widened. He said in shock, Before I met Lin Yuan and his daughter, I thought that martial uncle was the most shameless person in the world. Later on, because Lin Yuan was too shameless, he replaced him as the most shameless person. But now, I finally understand what true shamelessness is. Compared to master, what is martial uncle? What is Lin Yuan? This is the highest realm of shamelessness. No one can surpass him. Lin Yuan was also scared silly. Even though he was hypocritical, he would not take other people's insults as praise. How could this woman say such a thing? Yes, compared to her, what was shamelessness? Her level of attainment really made others concede defeat. Yun Luofeng smiled faintly and turned to the people who were stunned by her. You also want to come over and chat with me? The girl's smile was like a demon, tempting them to move forward. Taking another step forward would mean falling into hell, never to be reincarnated. City Lord, this. Immediately, everyone looked at Lin Yuan and spoke hesitantly. Lin Yuan finally recovered from his shock, and his face sank as he said coldly, Miss, don't you think you've gone too far? How dare you commit murder in front of me? You're not putting me in your eyes at all. Are you worthy of my attention? Yun Luofeng glanced at Lin Yuan and raised his eyebrows. Lin Yuan was a little angry. Since you followed me to this forest of no return, you should listen to my commands. Yun Luofeng glanced at him. Who said that I followed you to this forest of no return? We're just taking the same route. Chapter 7:25. Same route? Lin Yuan sneered. He obviously didn't believe her words. Since you want to follow, I'll allow you to follow. After all, aside from the governor's palace, everyone else who has entered the forest of no return is destined to die here. Since you've put it that way, I won't bicker with a little girl like you. At the thought of this, Lin Yuan could not be bothered to bicker with her. He glanced at her coldly and retracted his gaze. Let's continue our journey. Lin Yuan's actions were within Yun Luofeng's expectations. She gently curled the corners of her lips and said, Let's go too. Yun Xiao did not speak. However, when he retracted his gaze from Yun Luofeng, he turned towards Lin Yuan and the others who were walking in front of him. A murderous intent gradually rose in his grim gaze. The rest of the journey was very peaceful. Unfortunately, this tranquil journey did not last for long before it was disrupted by a series of wild barks. Roar! All of a sudden, countless wolves rushed over from the front, pouncing on the humans. It's a pack of soul wolves. It's said that treasures will definitely exist wherever there are soul wolves. We're rich this time. Someone in the crowd let out an excited voice. Lin Yuan was completely stunned and his face was filled with astonishment. Treasures? The forest of no return is so vast. Could it be that they've discovered some sort of treasure? In the midst of his shock, the soul wolves had already pounced in front of him. He quickly retracted his thoughts and fought with the soul wolves. A light flashed across Lin Ruoxin's eyes and she shot a look at the guard next to her. When the guard saw this, he nodded and pretended to inadvertently fall towards Yun Luofeng and the others. Thump! His body fell heavily onto the ground and a sachet hidden in his pocket leaked out. Coincidentally, the guard's sword had accidentally scratched the sachet. Instantly, a hole appeared on the sachet, and white powder leaked out from the inside of the sachet. Upon smelling the scent of the white powder, the soul wolves suddenly went berserk and charged towards Yun Luofeng, as if they had been provoked. Lin Ruoxin gently raised the corners of her lips when she saw the scene before her, and a smile unconsciously appeared on her face. Ever since they entered the forest of no return, for some unknown reason, those spiritual beasts did not attack Yun Xiao and the rest at all. As a result, she was unable to test whether Yun Xiao was worthy of her. However, it was a good thing that she had made preparations. As long as she sprinkled this 100-herb powder in front of Yun Xiao, any spiritual beast that smelled it would become extremely agitated and attack it crazily. Of course, the highly intelligent spirit beasts were an exception. Other than attacking people, this soul wolf was very stupid in all other aspects. Thus, she wanted to use this to probe Yun Xiao after seeing the soul wolf pack. After doing all this, the guard was afraid that he would be implicated, so he hurriedly cut it open. His eyes were filled with joy. If one didn't have the strength of a celestial spirit expert, it would be impossible to deal with so many soul wolves. It seemed like these people would definitely be buried here. Lin Yuan and the others did not move. It was as if nothing had happened. They stood quietly on the spot and watched coldly. It was as if the person who led the soul wolf pack to Yun Luofeng wasn't him. Good will be rewarded, and evil will be repaid with evil. These soul wolves abandoned us and didn't attack because they knew right from wrong. They knew who was good and who was evil. After all, not everyone could recognize the 100-herb powder. Some of them had never studied medicine and naturally did not know that the 100 herb powder would make the spiritual beasts violent. Hence, they stubbornly believed that the soul wolves had attacked Yun Luofeng because Yun Luofeng was evil. Chapter 726. Yun Xiao stared coldly at the incoming wolf pack. Then, he made his move. The man was so fast that no one could see his movements clearly. In the blink of an eye, the spiritual beasts that were charging towards Yun Luofeng and the rest fell into a pool of blood, no longer moving. Lin Ruoxin was stunned. She didn't even see the man make his move, but the wolf pack had already fallen? How strong was this man? How strong was he? At the very least, he was on par with her father. Yun Xiao seemed to have sensed something, and his cold gaze slowly swept towards Lin Ruoxin. This was the first time he had looked at her today, but it made her heart race. Her expression was no longer as cold as before, and she stared at him unblinkingly. Yun Xiao glanced at Lin Ruoxin, then at the white powder on the ground, and a cold murderous intent surged from his body. That's right, he was indeed murderous, because the people from the mayor's residence had scattered the 100 herb powder in front of him. Lin Ruoxin's face paled, and she turned around to give the guard a hard slap. She said sternly, "Who allowed you to carry the 100 herb powder on you?" The guard couldn't say it out loud. "Wasn't it because you were afraid that we wouldn't be able to escape in time if we encountered a dangerous spiritual beast? So you asked me to carry the 100 herb powder? Fortunately, you used others to attract the spiritual beast's attention at the critical moment, so that you could escape. Moreover, you were the one who instructed me to do this." Of course, he wouldn't dare to say this even if he was given a lot of courage. "Miss, it's my fault." The guard knelt on the ground. "Because this trip to the forest of no return is too dangerous, I was worried that Miss and the mayor would be in danger, so I brought the 100 herb powder. Please punish me, Miss." Lin Ruoxin's eyes were filled with disappointment, and she shook her head slightly. "You mean, if we encountered a powerful spiritual beast, you should sprinkle the 100 herb powder on others to save me? Please forgive me, Miss." The guard's face was a little pale, but he still bore the responsibility for everything. Lin Ruoxin laughed bitterly. "You've disappointed me. If you put others in danger to save me, I won't be able to eat or sleep in peace for the rest of my life." Yun Luofeng glanced at Lin Ruoxin. If she hadn't noticed Lin Ruoxin's eyes, she might have been fooled by her acting skills. "Lin Ying, you are the city lord's residence's guard." Yet he had committed such a grave mistake. "My life is a life, but other people's lives are not. How could you be so selfish? I thought this was how you were taught. A person should be frank and open. I will never be a treacherous person." Lin Ruoxin's face was filled with righteousness as she stared at the guard coldly. She was exasperated that the guard had failed to meet her expectations. The guard lowered his head and half knelt on the ground. "Miss, this subordinate knows his mistake. However, this time I did not mean to scatter the 100 grass powder under their feet. It was just an accident. No matter what reason you have, a mistake is a mistake. If it wasn't for this young master's strength, he might have been in danger. So you must apologize to them immediately." Lin Ruoxin then turned towards Yun Xiao and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, it was my city lord's residence's guard who made a mistake, causing you to be surrounded and attacked by the soul wolves. Now that I've taught him a lesson, I believe he won't make the same mistake again." The guard strode forward with an apologetic look on his face. "Everyone, I really didn't mean to do this. I didn't mean to harm you. I believe that everyone here is a magnanimous person and won't hold it against me." What he meant was that he had not meant to scatter the 100 herb powder, so Yun Luofeng and the others must forgive him. If they did not forgive him, they would be petty. Chapter 727. This was the first time Long Fei had heard of such a statement. He was the one who had made a mistake, yet others insisted on forgiving him. If they didn't forgive him, then it was someone else's fault? Sure enough, they were in cahoots. To be able to become the city lord's subordinate, one had to be shameless. "Lin Ying, you can leave." Seeing that Yun Luofeng and the rest had yet to speak, Lin Ruoxin thought that she had forgiven him. Seeing that Lin Ying was about to stand up and leave, Yun Luofeng finally spoke. Her voice was as evil as the wind, causing Lin Ying to stop in her tracks. Did I say that he could leave? Lin Ruoxin's expression changed, evidently not expecting Yun Luofeng to not give her any face. Miss, Lin Ying has already apologized. Then I'll apologize after I destroy the city lord's residence. Will that work? Yun Luofeng's face lit up with a smile as he spoke indifferently. The crowd suddenly quietened down. No one expected Yun Luofeng to hold onto such a small matter. That's right. In the eyes of the crowd, this was clearly a small matter. Not to mention the fact that they were completely unharmed under the Soul Wolves' attack, so what if they were injured? The city lord's people had already apologized. Why would they still hold on to it? Furthermore, she actually said that she wanted to destroy the city lord's residence? What a joke. No matter how strong these people were, they could never compare to the city lord's residence. There was no comparison between the two parties. Then what do you want? The one who spoke was the city lord, Lin Yuan. His expression was very ugly, but he forcefully suppressed the anger in his heart and stared coldly at Yun Luofeng. What do you think I want? Yun Luofeng curled his lips and asked. Lin Yuan took a deep breath. If you want compensation, just say the word and I can do my best to satisfy you. After all, the city lord's residence was in the wrong in this matter. He could give, but it depended on whether these people had the guts to ask for it. However, he had underestimated Yun Luofeng. He dared to hit someone in front of Lin Yuan. Why wouldn't he dare to ask for compensation? Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. Compensate me? Sure. I'll use your entire city lord's residence as compensation. Lin Yuan nearly spat out a mouthful of blood. Using the entire city lord's residence as compensation, this woman dared to say such words. Don't go too far. He gritted his teeth and said word by word. Yun Luofeng smiled faintly. You said it yourself. Don't tell me you want to go back on your word? If you don't want to compensate me, you shouldn't have let me ask for it in the first place. Lin Yuan was so angry that he couldn't say anything. However, even if he didn't say anything, a group of people would speak up for him. The city lord mansion has already apologized. Why are you still holding on to it? This matter is the guard's fault. I am also not ashamed of his behavior, but the city lord manor is innocent. Didn't you see that Miss Ruoxin has already taught him a lesson? Miss Ruoxin is the best woman I've ever seen. Her bodyguard didn't hesitate to harm others in order to protect her, but she was very sensible and taught him a lesson. To be honest, I've seen countless rich heiresses, but none of them care about human lives. Only Miss Ruoxin cares about other people's lives. Miss Ruoxin is so outstanding in her cooking, and City Lord Lin Yuan is so righteous. Aren't you embarrassed to not forgive the City Lord Mansion? In the beginning, everyone was also angry at the guard for acting on his own, but after hearing Lin Ruoxin's words, they had long forgiven the City Lord Mansion. Chapter 728. Now, how could they be willing to see Yun Luofeng's bullying? At the thought of this, someone in the crowd spoke up again. Miss, I advise you not to be unreasonable. You also know that I'm unreasonable? Long Fei laughed icily. If you're so capable, let the governor's mansion be reasonable. Since there's no reason for us to be unreasonable, then we'll have the final say on the matter of compensation. That person immediately fell silent. He shook his head and his face was filled with helplessness, as if he had nothing to say to these stubborn people. Yun Xiao frowned slightly and looked coldly at the people who were still chattering nonstop. His grim eyes once again burst with a strong murderous intent. When those people felt Yun Xiao's gaze, their bodies trembled involuntarily. It was as if a chill had entered their hearts from the soles of their feet. It was incomparably cold. In that instant, they felt as if their bodies had fallen into hell. Lin Ruoxin bit her lip and stood in front of Yun Xiao, trying to use her body to resist this man's aura. This matter is my fault. It has nothing to do with anyone else. Please don't vent your anger on others. Her clear and cold eyes were filled with stubbornness. Her pretty face was pale as she stared fearlessly at Yun Xiao. Miss Ruoxin. Everyone's hearts trembled when they saw Lin Ruoxin's actions. Their eyes were filled with gratitude, clearly not expecting Lin Ruoxin to go to this extent for their sake. Even though Lin Ruoxin could not withstand all of Yun Xiao's coercion based on her current strength. Yun Xiao stared coldly at Lin Ruoxin, and the coercion from his body became even more intense. His black robes fluttered in the wind and his grim aura was fully displayed, making people feel as if there were needles on their backs. Lin Ruoxin could not hold on any longer and knelt on the ground with a thud. Lin Yuan's expression darkened when he saw this. He quickly rushed forward to help Lin Ruoxin up and said with a cold and sunken look on his face, "Aren't you going overboard?" "Overboard?" Yun Luofeng laughed icily. No matter what I do to you, I will never go overboard." She had never been a person who would suffer losses. She would always be the one to suffer losses. She couldn't swallow her anger and humiliation in silence. With Yun Luofeng's words, Yun Zhao's gaze shifted from Lin Ruoxin to Lin Yuan. The murderous intent in his eyes intensified as he slowly walked towards him. At that moment, Lin Yuan's back suddenly stiffened. He raised his head in shock and looked at the cold man who was slowly walking over. Just now, his breathing involuntarily stagnated, and he almost couldn't breathe. The pressure was too heavy. Lin Yuan wanted to retreat, but he realized that everyone's gazes were focused on him. These gazes made it impossible for him to retreat, so he could only brace himself and face Yun Xiao. "Young master, this matter is indeed my city governor's mansion's fault, so no matter what you do to my city governor's mansion, I will absolutely not complain." His voice was filled with awe-inspiring righteousness. Even though there was some fear in his heart, his eyes were very magnanimous. "But the others are innocent. Don't involve them." Yun Xiao. Just as Yun Xiao was about to arrive in front of Lin Yuan, a young girl's voice suddenly rang out from behind him. This voice caused him to stop in his tracks. "Wait a minute. Wait a minute?" Yun Xiao was startled and nodded gently. "All right." With that, he swept a cold glance at Lin Yuan and slowly walked in front of Yun Luofeng. After Yun Xiao had left, Lin Yuan finally heaved a sigh of relief. He took advantage of the fact that no one was paying attention to pat his chest. Chapter 729. Ahem. After calming down, Lin Yuan cleared his throat and said, "Let's continue." After saying that, he no longer pursued Yun Zhao's previous actions, because he understood that if he pursued the matter, then only death awaited him. Of course, the others did not know what Lin Yuan was thinking in his heart and still thought that he was magnanimous. That was why he let Yun Xiao and the rest go. After all, in everyone's hearts, Lin Yuan was extremely powerful. No matter how powerful Yun Xiao was, he would at most be on par with Lin Yuan, and it was absolutely impossible for him to surpass Lin Yuan. Yun Luofeng glanced at Yun Xiao, who had walked to his side, and explained, "It was Long Fei who told us not to make a move for now," he said. After a pause, Yun Luofeng continued, "He couldn't stand these hypocritical people, and wanted to expose their true colors first. There's one more thing," Long Fei said with a bitter smile. "These people are still of some use. Once they're no longer useful, they'll be useless as well." "Use?" Yun Luofeng frowned slightly and glanced at Long Fei. She quickly retracted her gaze and looked at the sky not far from the forest of no return. For some reason, she kept having the feeling that the forest of no return wasn't peaceful at all. It seemed like something was about to happen. Night fell. The moonlight was like water. The forest was filled with tents. The tents were brightly lit, like the blazing sun lighting up the silent night. Yun Luofeng had just fallen asleep when he heard the wails of spirit beasts not far away. Yun Xiao, who was beside him, opened his eyes as well. His black eyes were filled with coldness. However, when he looked at Yun Luofeng, his expression calmed down. "Wait for me here. I'll go take a look." "All right." Yun Luofeng nodded his head slightly. He was very confident in Yun Zhao's strength. It wouldn't take long for him to get rid of the spiritual beasts that had come to cause trouble. If it was daytime, with Su Zhang by his side, the spirit beasts wouldn't dare to approach him after sensing his aura. However, it was nighttime now. In order to prevent those spirit beasts from disturbing Yun Luofeng, he had to go out and deal with it first. As for Su Zhang, Hearing the thunderous snoring from the tent next door, Yun Luofeng knew that he could not count on her. As long as this fellow fell asleep, he wouldn't wake up even if the sky collapsed. Therefore, she was curious as to what kind of spiritual beast Su Zheng's true form was. Yun Zhao's figure was like a gust of black wind as he quickly rushed out of the tent. However, not long after he left, the tent was lifted open and a handsome youth walked in sneakily. The youth immediately saw Yun Luofeng sleeping on the bed. A light flashed in his eyes as he walked towards her. The closer he got, the heavier his breathing became. When he reached the bed, his wolf claws stretched out towards the girl on the bed. However, before his hand could touch the girl who had her eyes closed suddenly opened her eyes. She jumped up from the bed and grabbed the young man's neck with her hand. "Tell me, who sent you here?" Yun Luofeng's eyes narrowed, and a dangerous aura emanated from him. The girl's eyes flickered. I went to the wrong tent." "Wrong tent?" Yun Luofeng sneered and flung the girl's body away. His eyes were cold. "Did Lin Ruoxin send you here?" The handsome youth froze for a moment, then looked up at Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng continued to sneer. "Let me guess. Those spiritual beasts were also attracted by her 100 herb powder?" Chapter 730. What nonsense are you talking about?" The young man was flustered. "Those spiritual beasts are useless to our team. How could Miss use the same trick again?" "The same trick again? So you knew that the 100 herb powder was also Lin Ruoxin's order?" Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a sneer. The young man panicked even more. I didn't know anything. Besides, those spiritual beasts weren't a threat to your life. Why did she attract them here?" "They weren't a threat to me. After all, Yun Xiao was by my side. She used the 100 herb powder to lure him away." Yun Luofeng gently stroked his chin and smiled faintly. "Are you trying to seduce me now?" She lured Yun Xiao away and allowed a man to sneak into her tent in the dark. Lin Ruoxin's intentions were clear. The young man stared at Yun Luofeng in horror. She knew everything. This woman had guessed Mrs. intentions. So why did she fall for it on purpose? In reality, Yun Luofeng hadn't expected Lin Ruoxin to attack the spiritual beasts on purpose. But when she saw the young man enter the tent, she immediately guessed his intentions. At this moment, footsteps could be heard from outside the tent. A sinister light flashed across the young man's eyes. He tore his clothes apart and screamed in panic. "Help!" After hearing the young man's cries for help, a group of people quickly pushed open the tent and entered. When he saw the scene in the tent, Lin Yuan flew into a rage. He roared, "How dare you do such a thing to someone from the Chancellor's manor? You're a shameless pervert." Lin Ruoxin wasn't as angry as Lin Yuan. She slowly walked towards the handsome young man and lowered her eyes. She asked gently, "Tell me, what happened?" The young man looked at Yun Luofeng behind him with fear in his eyes. "Don't be afraid." Lin Ruoxin's voice was gentle. "I'll protect you here. You can tell me, what does she want to do to you? As long as I, Lin Ruoxin, am here, no one will be able to harm anyone from the Chancellor's manor." The young man's body trembled slightly. "Young miss, I heard the cry of a spiritual beast just now. I wanted to come out and find out what was going on. However, I had just arrived here when this woman seemed to have gone mad and dragged me into the tent, wanting to do something to me. Because of the cries of the spiritual beasts, many people had gone to investigate the situation. Only a small number of people had arrived. Even if there were only a small number of people, the discussions were still very noisy. I remember that this woman already has a husband, but she still did such a thing to the people of the city lord's mansion. TSK. This kind of woman should be torn apart by 5 horses. What I hate the most in my life are women who don't keep their chastity. Did she think she was a man? A man could have 3 wives and 4 concubines, but a woman must be faithful to one. Any disloyal woman should die. The man glared at Yun Luofeng with a ferocious expression. Everyone around him knew him. Back then, his wife had run away with another man. That was why he hated women who didn't keep their chastity. In his opinion, Anyone who was half-hearted must be severely punished. Chapter 731. Because of this, he had once found his wife and her adulterer in a fit of rage and sentenced them both to death. Even though he had betrayed her back then, he had even allowed his concubine to harm his wife's child. As a result, his wife ran away with her childhood sweetheart. But so what? It was normal for a man to have as many women as he wanted. Women had to be faithful to one until the end. At this thought, the man continued, "This kind of woman doesn't deserve to live in this world. But I'm in a good mood today, so I'll teach you something. Men are the heavens. Men are steel. If you marry, you have to respect your man. Isn't there a saying that goes, obey your husband when you marry, obey your son when he dies? But you, not only do you order your man around, you're also half-hearted. Why don't you go and die?" He couldn't stand women who trampled men beneath their feet. As the target of everyone's criticism, Yun Luofeng crossed his arms in front of his chest, a faint smile on his lips. "You're saying I molested you?" The young man gulped and said stubbornly, "That's right, you molested me just now. If it weren't for Miss and the others, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to keep my chastity." "Where's the evidence?" Yun Luofeng asked with a faint smile. "My clothes are the evidence." The young man's face was a little pale. "You've already torn my clothes. Are you still going to deny it?" In any case, if he insisted on this woman, she wouldn't be able to clear her name even if she jumped into the Yellow River. Lin Ruoxin furrowed her brows and looked at Yun Luofeng. "If you did it, then admit it. I'll give you a chance to turn over a new leaf." Her words were very righteous, as if Yun Luofeng was still alive because of her kindness. Boom! Just as Lin Ruoxin finished speaking, a cold aura suddenly attacked her from behind. Then, she seemed to have been hit in the back of her leg, causing her to kneel on the ground with a thud. "So you know your mistake. So you're kneeling and apologizing to me?" Yun Luofeng looked at Lin Ruoxin, who was kneeling on the ground. "But I won't accept your apology." Lin Ruoxin's face was slightly pale. Just as she raised her head, a black robe flashed past her and walked towards Yun Luofeng. Her body stiffened, her elegant face carrying a trace of bitterness. From the beginning to the end, this man had never looked at her in the eye. What happened? Yun Xiao stared coldly at the crowd squeezed into the tent, her eyes growing increasingly cold. At this moment, due to Yun Xiao's return, the rest of the people who had gone to kill the spiritual beasts had all rushed back as well. However, they did not understand what had happened as well, and their hearts were filled with bewilderment. "You've come at the right time. Your woman wants to rape a member of my city lord's mansion. You must give me an explanation for this matter." Lin Yuan's face darkened as he spoke coldly. Yun Xiao swept her eyes over the youth whose clothes were in disarray before turning her gaze towards Yun Luofeng. "Please rape me." "Rape me?" It was like thunder rolling in the sky. Everyone was stunned. What was this? There were actually people who wanted to be raped? "Why didn't you rape me? I want to be raped by you." Yun Xiao spoke from the bottom of her heart. He really wanted to be raped by Yun Luofeng. Therefore, he looked at Yun Luofeng with a sincere expression. Lin Ruoxin's expression froze, her body trembling. Why did he actually forgive Yun Luofeng after hearing that he had done such a despicable thing? Unfortunately, Yun Xiao did not care about the gazes of the crowd. She stared fixedly at him and said, "I can warm the bed, cook, and be obedient. Why didn't you rape me?" Chapter 732. Yun Luofeng's face darkened. Even though this man was talking about sex, his expression was serious. It was as if he was very serious about it. Lin Ruoxin pushed herself up from the ground, but before she could, Yun Xiao's cold gaze swept over her. Before she could fully get up, she felt a weight on her back and knelt down again. The people from the Chancellor's manor said that she wanted to rape him. "Why aren't you angry?" "Why should I be angry?" This was the first sentence that Yun Xiao had said to her, but it made Lin Ruoxin's heart sink. Does he really love me that much? He doesn't even care about what happened between me and others? Lin Ruoxin didn't know that Yun Xiao wasn't angry, not because he was magnanimous, but because of one word. That word was called trust. Of course, the meaning of this word was too deep for Lin Ruoxin's intelligence to understand. In this tense atmosphere, a soft voice came from the bed. Mother, Father, are you two done talking? If you're done, let Mother continue to tell me stories. The entire tent fell silent. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and immediately saw that the bed had been flipped open. A pink and jade-carved baby rubbed his eyes and said softly, I'm a little sleepy. I'll sleep after listening to the story. Child? There's a child in this tent? And did he just call Yun Luofeng mother? Everyone who came looking for trouble was stunned. The young man was also dumbfounded. When he came in, there was only Yun Luofeng in the bed. When did this child appear? Moreover, they had been walking for a day and they hadn't seen Yun Luofeng with a child at all. Uncle, why are you still here? Little Mo pouted and turned to the young man. I haven't settled the score with you for disturbing my mother's storytelling. Why are you still clinging to my mother? You even brought a group of bad people to bully my mother. Come in? This fellow came in by himself? Didn't he say that he was dragged in by this woman? Little friend, did you say that he came in by himself? Not all of them were on the same side as the City Lord Mansion. They were on the side of the City Lord Mansion because they were convinced by Lin Yuan's words. Hence, after hearing Little Mo's words, they naturally wanted to voice out their doubts. Yes, Little Mo blinked. He tried to take off my mother's clothes when he came in, but my mother beat him up. I don't know why, but he tore his own clothes. You said he tore his clothes? That's right. Little Mo tilted his head. I'm still young, so I don't understand what he's trying to do. Uncle, can you tell me what he's trying to do? Small? Yun Luofeng's brows twitched when he heard Little Mo's words. This little guy had lived for thousands of years, but he said he was still young? However, Yun Luofeng did not expose him. He merely smiled coldly at everything that was happening before him. Everyone was stunned, and all eyes turned to look at the young man. Many of these people were parents. No matter how despicable they would never rape their own children in front of them. Little friend, Uncle has a few questions. Why haven't I seen you for the past 100 days? When did you appear? Chapter 733. Someone in the crowd asked the question that was on everyone's mind. Little Mo blinked and pointed at the big bag in the tent. Because I'm too lazy to walk, so I've been staying in that bag all this time. In fact, he was originally in the Divine Grimoire. Now that he heard people slandering Yun Luofeng, he couldn't help but come out. I have another question. I heard your father say that he asked your mother to rape him, but your parents haven't consummated their marriage yet. Where did you come from? Little Mo tilted her head and asked, What's consummated? Can we eat it? The corner of the man's mouth twitched, and he continued, That is, when the two of them slept in the same room, did their bodies touch? Was it the two of them intertwined? Are you talking about fighting? Little Mo had an innocent smile on her face. My parents fight every night. But the day before yesterday, my father beat my mother until her lower body bled. So they can't fight for now. Fight? In a child's heart, her parents' nightly pestering was the same as fighting. As for her lower body bleeding, doesn't that mean she's on her period? Yun Luofeng glanced at Little Mo, but she didn't say anything in the end. Instead, she looked at the crowd coldly. At this moment, everyone's eyes were on the young man. The shock in their eyes had turned into disdain. Lin Ruoxin suddenly lost the pressure from Yun Xiao. She quickly stepped forward and slapped the young man's face. Why did you do this? Lin Ruoxin trembled in anger. Not only did you want to take advantage of her, but you also framed her. If word of this gets out, you'll bring shame to the city lord's residence. The young man opened his mouth. He really wanted to say, Wasn't this all you're doing? However, facing Lin Ruoxin's vicious gaze, he was so scared that he didn't dare utter a single word. I know it's all because of me. It's my fault for not disciplining her properly. I can only apologize with my life. Lin Ruoxin closed her eyes and raised her hand, pretending to hit her own head. She knew that she wouldn't die. No one here would let her die. Of course, Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao were naturally not amongst them. Just as her palm was about to hit her head, a hand quickly grabbed her, and there was a hint of anger in the voice. Ruoxin, what are you trying to do? It's not your fault. No, I'm the one at fault. Lin Ruoxin opened her eyes and looked at Lin Yuan. It's all my fault. Not long ago, I accidentally bought a love affinity stone from an expert. Coincidentally, that love affinity stone fell into the hands of this young master. Lin Ruoxin bit her lips as she glanced at Yun Xiao. That expert told me that the person in the love affinity stone is my destined person. However, he already has a wife. Because of this, Jun wanted to seduce his wife just now, wanting to separate them. Lin Ruoxin's eyes were filled with tears. Father, I was wrong. If it wasn't for me, Jun wouldn't have done such a thing. I should have died to atone for my sins. No, Ruoxin, you didn't do anything wrong. Since you said that the love affinity stone had chosen him for you, he must be your destined person. You've only missed him because you appeared too late. Lin Yuan grabbed Lin Ruoxin's arm tightly and said emotionally, Don't worry. What's yours will always be yours. No one can take it away from you. Chapter 734. Lin Ruoxin lowered her gaze as a cold light flashed across her eyes. Father is right. What belongs to me will always belong to me. No one can snatch it away from me. Ruoxin? Lin Yuan's expression softened and he said, Don't worry. This has nothing to do with you. You don't have to blame yourself. Father will seek justice for you. Lin Ruoxin raised her head. Her eyes were still filled with guilt. But father, this is my fault after all. If I don't atone for it with my death, I won't be able to rest easy. Perhaps it was because of Yun Zhao's outburst that no one else dared to say anything in front of him. However, their eyes were clearly filled with blame as they stared at Yun Luofeng in unison. Miss Ruoxin is such a kind person. How could they have the cheek to force her to such an extent? Don't they feel ashamed? Furthermore, Miss Ruoxin was not at fault in this matter. It was the city lord's men who acted on their own. She was innocent. Yun Luofeng curled the corners of his lips and looked at Lin Ruoxin with a faint smile. If you really want to atone for it with your death, you can die now. Yun Xiao restrained Lin Yuan. I'd like to see if he dares to commit suicide. Hearing Yun Luofeng's words, Yun Zhao's figure flashed and appeared behind Lin Yuan. He pressed his hand tightly on his shoulder. Lin Yuan's body stiffened. He wanted to break free from the man's grasp but found that his shoulder was as heavy as 1,000 kilograms. He could not move an inch. His eyes finally revealed a trace of fear and his face turned even paler. Didn't you want to atone for it with your death? Yun Luofeng's smile was cold and evil. I'm giving you the chance now. You can atone for it immediately. Lin Ruoxin's body trembled slightly. She turned towards Yun Luofeng and bit her lip. I didn't force you to die. You were the one who said that you wanted to atone for it with your death. Since you've said it, you must do it. Are you trying to play the sympathy card and deceive the world? What nonsense are you talking about? Lin Ruoxin flew into a rage out of humiliation. She couldn't help but clench her fists tightly. I'm only speaking the truth. Yun Luofeng smiled lightly. If you don't fulfill your promise, then it proves that your words of atoning with your death were empty words. Perhaps, this guard of the city lord's residence was ordered by you. Lin Ruoxin's expression changed. She understood that if she didn't fulfill her promise today, she would definitely lose her credibility. Thinking of this, she slowly raised her hand and placed it on her forehead. Miss Ruoxin, don't listen to her goading. Don't do anything foolish. Everyone looked anxious, but no one dared to stop Lin Ruoxin. The reason was none other than Yun Zhao's strength was stronger than theirs, so they didn't dare to court death. However, they did not understand why the city lord did not move after being pressed down by that man. Could it be that he had no choice but to watch Miss Ruoxin die? Under everyone's anxious gazes, Lin Ruoxin's hand was already on her head. She only needed to exert a little more force and her brain would burst out. However, she didn't move for a long time. Her deathly pale face was like a piece of white paper, fragile and fragile. What? You don't dare to make a move? Yun Luofeng slowly approached Lin Ruoxin. Since that's the case, do you need my help? You've already decided to atone for it with your death anyway. So what if I do as you wish? Seeing Yun Luofeng approaching her, panic flashed across Lin Ruoxin's eyes. With a loud bang, she rushed towards Yun Luofeng. Chapter 735. Yun Luofeng dodged Lin Ruoxin's attack. The smile on her face deepened. Didn't you want to die as an apology? Why? Can't keep up the act? Everyone in the tent turned to look at Lin Ruoxin. Their eyes were filled with doubt. Clearly, they didn't understand why Lin Ruoxin had initiated the attack. Lin Ruoxin took a deep breath. I'm sorry. I thought I wouldn't be afraid in the face of danger. I thought I could die as an apology, but I overestimated myself. I felt fear when I was close to death. She raised her eyes and said frankly, I believe that no one can remain indifferent in the face of death. What I did just now was just an instinctive reaction. But that doesn't mean I lied to the world. Everyone nodded. Miss Ruoxin was right. Everyone would react instinctively in the face of death. So, even if she took back her words, it was still worth forgiving. Yun Luofeng glanced at Lin Ruoxin, then slowly walked towards the youth. I'll give you one last chance. Who ordered you to do this? The youth's face paled. He gritted his teeth and said, It was me. I'll give you one last chance. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. If you don't tell the truth, I can't guarantee what I'll do. The youth's eyes were filled with fear, but his tone was as stubborn as ever. I was the one who wanted to frame you. What truth do you want me to tell? I'm telling the truth. Yun Luofeng sneered. Not long ago I obtained a medicinal herb. What? The youth was stunned. Yun Luofeng didn't seem to notice his confusion. He continued, That herb has a special characteristic. If you tell the truth, you'll be fine. If you lie, your soul will be burned and you'll be in excruciating pain. The youth trembled. He turned around and wanted to escape, but before he could get out of the tent, he was restrained by Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng violently opened his mouth and forcefully stuffed the medicinal ingredients in his hand into his mouth. When the herb was shoved into his mouth, a bitter juice flowed down the corner of his mouth. He was so bitter that tears flowed down his cheeks. He hurriedly spat out the herb. Unfortunately, once the juice entered his body, it would be useless even if he spat out the herbs. What did you give me to eat? The young man clutched his throat tightly and asked in horror. The herb that made you speak the truth. Yun Luofeng looked at the youth and asked, What's your name? The youngster clenched his fist tightly. Lin Jun. Age? 17. Lin Jun was safe and sound when he asked these two questions. But then, Yun Luofeng's tone changed and he continued to ask, Who ordered you to frame me? It's me. Ah! Before he could finish his words, Lin Jun felt as if his soul was being burned by fire. He screamed in pain. Lin Ruoxin's expression suddenly changed. She had a bad premonition and wanted to stop him, but it was too late. I said, I'm telling the truth. It was eldest miss who found me tonight. She used the 100 herbs powder to attract the spiritual beasts and used it to distract the man beside you. She then ordered me to frame you. Under the pain of such a distance, the young man did not dare to hide anything and spilled everything out. Sure enough, as soon as he said that, the burning pain disappeared. Chapter 736. In an instant, everyone in the tent turned their attention to Lin Ruoxin. Lin Ruoxin's face turned from green to white, then from white to green. She then took a large step forward and slapped the youth fiercely again. I really never thought that you'd be so cowardly as to confess under torture. You're framing me. Confess under torture? Could it be that Miss Ruoxin was implying that the medicinal herb's ability was not to make people confess the truth, but to poison them? The youth couldn't withstand the poison and had helped her frame Lin Ruoxin? Yun Luofeng turned to look at Lin Ruoxin and smiled. It looks like you don't believe in my medicinal herb's ability. Why don't you try? Lin Ruoxin's little face paled. That's poison. Don't try to harm me. Whether it's poison or not, why don't you test it? Yun Luofeng slowly walked towards Lin Ruoxin with a demonic smile on her face. Lin Ruoxin took a few steps back as she stared at the young girl's sinister smile. Then, she suddenly launched an attack on Yun Luofeng. Her every move was swift and fierce, as if she was going to kill him. Just as she was about to reach Yun Luofeng suddenly grabbed her hand and forced the medicinal herb into her mouth the same way he had done to the youth. Ruoxin. Lin Yuan's expression changed greatly and he cried out anxiously. Unfortunately, he was under Yun Zhao's control and could not move. Cough, cough. Lin Ruoxin coughed dryly and raised her pale face. She stared fixedly at the young girl's beautiful face. I only have one sentence for you. Someone will be able to distinguish between good and evil. You won't be able to force a confession out of me. Even if I die, I won't admit it. Yun Luofeng kicked Lin Ruoxin violently and sent her flying. She straightened her white robes and retracted her leg. Her insolent eyes stared coldly at Lin Ruoxin, who had fallen to the ground. Confess under torture? Do you think I need that? If I want to kill you, ask around and see who can save you. Lin Ruoxin trembled. She knew that Yun Luofeng was speaking the truth. If she wanted to kill me, no one could. You think that if you don't admit it, I can't do anything to you? Yun Luofeng smiled coldly. Have you heard of an attack called a soul attack? Even against someone weaker than me, this soul attack can still absorb her soul. What? Lin Ruoxin raised her head in astonishment. Just as she was about to open her mouth, an attack slammed into her mind, causing it to go blank. Soon after, an evil voice slowly rang out. Who ordered him to do this? Lin Ruoxin was stunned. It's me. Boom! Like a bolt of lightning. No one could have imagined that Lin Jun had really been instructed by Lin Ruoxin. She admitted it just like that? Then what do you want him to do? Yun Luofeng's voice seemed to have a kind of enticing power, continuously guiding her in a patient and systematic manner. Lin Ruoxin's eyes were lifeless as she said, I want the man beside you. That's why I wanted him to frame you so that your man would misunderstand. But I didn't expect that he could even tolerate this kind of thing. He's clearly stronger than you, so why does he have to tolerate you like this? A man like him shouldn't be so lowly. Even though her eyes were still lifeless, her voice had softened a little. He should be high and mighty, and everyone else should only kneel at his feet. But what did you do to him? Not only did you not show your 3 obediences and 4 virtues, you even ordered him to do things for you. I only felt sorry for him, for he wasn't worth it. Chapter 737. Even though Lin Ruoxin was the daughter of the Castellan, she had been taught the 3 obediences and 4 virtues since young. Women should obey men. A person like Yun Luofeng wasn't worthy of Yun Zhao's love. The 100 herb powder that led the soul wolf to me was also your doing? That's right. I was the one who ordered it. I only wanted to test his strength to see if he's worthy of me. Lin Ruoxin had a smug smile on her face. He passed my test, he's qualified to be with me. Whoosh! After saying this, Lin Ruoxin felt her body relax. She staggered and almost fell to the ground. What was going on? Lin Ruoxin rubbed her aching head and frowned slightly. Then, she felt the disdainful and mocking gazes around her. Lin Ruoxin opened her mouth and turned to Lin Yuan. Father. She hoped that Lin Yuan could answer the questions in her heart. However, Lin Yuan tilted his head and turned away. Just at this moment, the surrounding discussions rang out, causing Lin Ruoxin's body to stiffen. I didn't expect Lin Ruoxin to be this kind of person. Lin Jun was indeed ordered by her. To think that I trusted her so much and was even used by her. Even the matter with the soul wolf was done on purpose. Thinking of how they had taught Yun Luofeng a lesson, these people's eyes were filled with guilt, and even more so, anger at being deceived. When Yun Luofeng questioned the Castellan's residents, they all spoke up for Lin Ruoxin and claimed that she was innocent. More importantly, they even said that Lin Ruoxin was very reasonable, unlike the other rich ladies who disregarded the lives of others. But now, reality was like a slap on their faces. Not only did it hurt, it was also very loud. The other rich ladies were at most a little arrogant and willful, but Lin Ruoxin wanted to harm others. Yet after harming others, she still flaunted her innocence. They were completely fooled by him. Lin Ruoxin was stunned. She had no recollection of what had just been said, so she didn't know what was going on. Suddenly, she reacted and glared at Yun Luofeng angrily. Was it you? Were you trying to frame me? You must have controlled me. We're irreconcilable. Enough! Lin Yuan's expression changed and he said coldly, Lin Ruoxin, others could control your body, but could they control your mouth? How can others control your own words? Hearing this, Yun Luofeng glanced at Lin Yuan and curled his lips. Was he planning to give up on Lin Ruoxin? Of course, Lin Yuan wasn't stupid. He knew that, after what Lin Ruoxin had said, there was no point in trying to explain himself. He might as well give up on her. Anyway, it was just a daughter. The woman he was raising outside had just given birth to a son for him not long ago. If he wasn't worried about his reputation being tarnished, he would have brought his son home long ago. Lin Ruoxin's face was finally filled with despair. After a long while, she started laughing maniacally. Her laughter filled the entire night sky. I lost. You lost completely, but you didn't win either. Your man and I are fated to be married. Even if I die, the two of you can't be together forever. Yun Xiao looked at Lin Ruoxin coldly before turning to Yun Luofeng. The stone I crushed wasn't a marriage stone. Chapter 738. And then, Yun Luofeng raised an eyebrow and asked, It's just an ordinary stone that contains my aura. That's why it hit me. Yun Xiao paused for a bit and continued saying, This matter was done by Bai Su. I didn't tell you because I was afraid you'd be worried. Bai Su? Yun Luofeng was stunned. He's here too. Back then, after he pestered you, I sent people to investigate him. I'm very clear about his abilities. Furthermore, I lost a sword when I fought with him. The aura in the stone came from that sword. The battle between him and Bai Su was definitely not the only one Yun Luofeng had seen. But, Yun Xiao frowned. I've fought with him a few times, but he always managed to escape. The reason is because there's a woman by Bai Su's side. That woman has the ability to burrow through the ground. She can travel thousands of miles on the ground. Do you know where that woman came from? Yun Luofeng stroked his chin and asked. I'm not sure. I've only heard that Bai Su changed her name to Jinyu. Jinyu? These two words pierced Lin Ruoxin's heart. She shouted crazily, Impossible! How could it be her? She was the one who gave me the marriage stone. How do you know her? Yun Xiao and Yun Luofeng did not speak. The others did not speak either. They all looked at Lin Ruoxin with pitiful eyes. Lin Ruoxin finally reacted. Her face turned pale. She lied to me. She actually lied to me. There had never been a time when Lin Ruoxin felt more hopeless than now. She was originally living a good life in Spirit City, but she met Jinyu. She even listened to her and fell into such a situation. It's all her fault. If she hadn't believed her, she wouldn't have sent people to harm Yun Luofeng. Are you guys going to continue watching the show or scram? Yun Luofeng swept his gaze across the crowd in the tent and asked with his lips slightly raised. Everyone trembled when they heard this and quickly left the tent. They were in the wrong. How would they dare to say anything else? Oh yes. Yun Luofeng seemed to recall something and looked at the middle-aged man who had accused her of not following the 3 obediences and 4 virtues. You stay here first. The middle-aged man's body stiffened. He smiled awkwardly and said, Is there anything else? You just said, the man is the heaven, the man is the ruler. Is that right? Hearing the girl's words, the middle-aged man was stunned for a moment. Was she planning to settle the score? No matter how much he feared this woman, he would never let go of his determination. I did say that, and I don't think I said anything wrong. Yun Luofeng walked towards the middle-aged man. Men can have multiple wives and concubines, but women must be faithful to one. That's right. The middle-aged man straightened his neck and said, Men can flirt with other women, but is it wrong for a woman to even speak to another person? Yun Luofeng continued to ask. That's right. The middle-aged man's expression stiffened. but he still insisted on his answer. In this world, men are the heavens. Yun Luofeng laughed. Then do you know a phrase? What is it? If the heavens offend me, then I will defy the heavens. The middle-aged man was stunned. How could a woman say such arrogant words? Furthermore, she actually said that she wanted to defy the heavens? Chapter 739. Remember, don't ask others for things that you can't do. If you want your woman to treat you the same as before, then you must control your lower half. Yun Luofeng smiled coldly. If you want others to follow the path of a wife, then you must follow the path of a husband. Follow the path of a wife. The people who had left were stunned and turned back to look at Yun Luofeng. They had talked about the path of a wife for so many years, but this was the first time they had heard of the path of a husband. I know this middle-aged man. Back then, the 32nd concubine he married wasn't someone who knew her place. She probably schemed to cause his wife to miscarry. In the end, his wife wanted to punish the 32nd concubine and was beaten up by him. The wife was disheartened and ran away with her childhood sweetheart. Is this true? No wonder he was so regretful and angry when he misunderstood that this lady had an affair with Lin Jun. He even brought up the 3 obediences and 4 virtues. Women really shouldn't follow the path of a wife. However, spoiling a concubine and neglecting a wife is equally shameful. No wonder his wife eloped with someone else. What a pity. His wife was caught not long after the elopement. Then, he tied the elopers to a pillar of fire and burned them alive. The middle-aged man's expression became even more awkward when he heard the discussions of these people. However, he still didn't think that he was wrong. Every time he thought of the scene of that adulterous couple making love in bed, his stomach burned like fire. He wished he could drag them out and whip their corpses. Yun Luofeng turned around and coldly tossed out a sentence. If you don't get lost, then don't even think about leaving this place. Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, those people hurriedly left and disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. Lin Yuan said weakly, "Then can I leave as well?" Yun Luofeng raised his brows. "You don't want your daughter anymore?" "No, I don't want her anymore." Lin Yuan smiled flatteringly. "Can you let me leave now?" Yun Xiao let him go. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. Lin Yuan was still useful for the time being, so he would let him stay for now. However, he wouldn't live for long either. Lin Yuan felt as if he had been granted amnesty and left without looking back. He even staggered a few times and almost fell to the ground. Seeing that he was about to disappear, Lin Ruoxin said anxiously, "Father, don't leave me." Unfortunately, for someone like Lin Yuan, even if he couldn't bear to part with Lin Ruoxin, he wouldn't throw his life away for her. Therefore, he didn't stop and quickly left this place. Lin Ruoxin's face was ashen. She looked at Yun Luofeng in despair. "What do you want to do to me? My pet lacks playmates." Yun Luofeng's lips curled up. "And you came just in time." As soon as she finished speaking, countless gold-seeking mice appeared out of thin air in the tent, grinding their teeth as they stared at Lin Ruoxin sinisterly. At this moment, Lin Ruoxin had no time to investigate how the gold-seeking mice had appeared out of thin air. She crawled up in panic and wanted to run out of the tent. She had only taken a few steps when a swarm of gold-seeking mice pressed down on her from behind and bit her flesh unceremoniously. "Bite! Bite her!" Little Mo sat on the bed and waved her little fists. "Milk tea, Meng Meng, bite her thighs. Mouse Queen, you and the left minister will bite her nipples. The other ministers will bite the rest of her body." Chapter 740. What did it feel like to eat a person alive? If you encountered it, your experience would be that it would be worse than death. Watching her body being eaten bit by bit, that intense pain caused her voice to become extremely mournful, like a ghost wailing and a wolf howling. But the gold-seeking mice ate not enough to kill her, however. For the gold-seeking mice who were used to eating medicinal ingredients, eating a person was equivalent to eating a pile of shit. Not only did it taste bad, it smelled bad too. Lin Ruoxin was only completely eaten the next day. Not even a single bone was left. Only the pile of blood on the ground proved that she had been tortured last night. Let's go. Yun Luofeng let Xiao Mo and the gold-seeking mice return to the divine grimoire space, then walked out with Yun Xiao. There were already many people waiting in front of the tent. Those people looked at Yun Luofeng strangely, but no one dared to provoke her anymore. Master. Long Fei saw Yun Luofeng walking over with one glance, frowned and said, "Don't you feel that the atmosphere today is a little strange? Also, why is the daughter of the city lord missing?" Because they had only brought 2 tents, Long Fei and Su Zheng slept together. Because Su Zheng's yelling was too loud, he did not hear the noise from last night. Even Lin Ruoxin's mournful cries could not compare to Su Zheng's snoring. But what made people curious was that under Su Zheng's snoring, Long Fei was actually able to sleep until dawn. "You slept too deeply last night?" Yun Luofeng raised the corner of his lips. "So you don't know what happened last night?" "What happened?" Long Fei was very curious. Then Yun Luofeng gave a simple recount of what happened last night. When he heard the young girl's recount, Long Fei's face turned green on the spot. Lin Ruoxin, that bitch. She's really looking for death. Of all people to provoke, she had to provoke Yun Luofeng? This was no different from looking for death. "Long Fei, you still haven't told me what's going on in the forest of no return." Yun Luofeng frowned slightly. "Why were the other beast kings sealed?" Long Fei smiled bitterly. "It's not that I don't want to tell you. It's that I don't know what's going on at all. I only know that not only are they sealed in the innermost part, but they are also in a deep slumber. As for the specifics, we can only find them if we find them. Unfortunately, Martial Uncle and I can't find them at all. Back then, if Uncle Master had not been away from home, he would have been sealed like the other beast kings. Let's continue. No matter what, I have to see Fu Sheng." This was Tianya's wish. She would help him complete it. In the depths of the forest of no return, next to a clear green pond, the green-robed woman was lying on the muddy ground with her eyes closed. Her face was rosy, as if she was sleeping peacefully. Next to the woman was a man in a gray robe. His entire body was shrouded in darkness as he leaned close to her. His hand was placed on the woman's navel as he muttered to himself. His voice was eerie and terrifying. "Just a little more and I will be able to completely control this beast king. Erase all of her consciousness and turn her into an attack that only knows how to fight for me." This time, his harvest in the forest of no return was not small. Once he subdued these beast kings, his strength would increase by more than a little. Suddenly, the man in the gray robe felt the woman's consciousness resisting his attack and was surprised. Chapter 741. She has become like this, yet she can still resist me? This beast king is not simple. The more she is like this, the more I want to subdue her. After saying this, the gray-robed man noticed that the green-robed woman's lips moved. He was shocked, thinking that the other party had woken up from her slumber. Just as he was about to seal her consciousness again, he discovered that the other party was only muttering a few words and showed no signs of waking up. The gray-robed man frowned and put his ear to the woman's lips. What? Tianya? What does Tianya mean? Could it be that she wants to say the ends of the earth? The green-robed woman was still in a daze, her lips constantly moving. Tianya, at this time, in Long Yuan country, far away from the forest of no return, Tianya was sipping tea with old Master Yun. "Your Yun family's tea is still better. I can't drink such good tea anywhere else." Tianya clicked his tongue twice, his face full of satisfaction. "I just don't know when the Yun girl will come back. She's been gone for almost 2 months. Old Master Yun sighed. "Fenger has always been like this. These days he has been running around everywhere. I don't know when this kind of life will come to an end." "Oh right, when will Ning Xian and your family's Yun Qingya get married?" Tianya didn't want the old man to worry, so he quickly changed the topic. They want to wait for Fenger to come back." Old Master Yun smiled helplessly and raised his head to look at Tianya. When he saw the drastic change in Tianya's expression, he frowned slightly. "What's wrong? What happened?" At this moment, Tianya's face was pale, and his hands were tightly covering his chest. He didn't know what was going on, but at that moment, he suddenly felt a heart-wrenching pain. It was as if someone in the distance was softly chanting his name. Fu Sheng, it must be Fu Sheng. It's Fu Sheng calling me. Ignoring the astonished gaze of the old man behind him, Tianya hurriedly turned around and ran out of the courtyard, quickly disappearing from the Yun family. Oh, Tianya, this is the holy fruit of my clan. I have dripped a drop of blood in it. If you eat it now, if I am not by your side in the future, as long as I call your name softly, you will be able to feel that I am thinking of you. Why? Why did you betray me? I betrayed my family for you, but what I got in return was your betrayal. Tianya, I never want to see you again in this life. You will never be able to find me. The past flashed through Tianya's mind like a camera. Every frown and smile of the woman was deeply engraved in his heart. All these years, he had been waiting for her to call out to him, but after waiting for dozens of years, he had never heard that soft call out to him. But now that the moment had arrived, why did he feel as if his heart and lungs were being torn apart? Fu Sheng, something must have happened. Wait for me. Fu Sheng, you have to wait for me. I've missed you for decades. This time, even if I have to travel to the ends of the earth, I must find you. Tianya raised his head and let out a long roar. His voice reverberated throughout the entire Long Yuan country, and everyone in the Long Yuan country could hear his vow. Forest of no return, beside the clear pond. The green-robed girl quietly lay on the ground. It was unknown if she had sensed something, but a tear fell from her eye. Under the illumination of the sun, it emitted a dazzling radiance. Tianya, I'm sorry. Goodbye. Chapter 742. In the dangerous forest, Su Zhang raised his head slightly and stared at the sky not far away. His eyes darkened and the uneasiness in his heart gradually magnified. Uncle Master. Long Fei glanced at Su Zhang and asked, What's the situation? Su Zhang did not speak, but his expression clearly did not look too good. Even Yun Luofeng, who was next to him, could sense the aura emanating from his body. Let's continue. Yun Luofeng's gaze swept across Su Zhang's body, but he did not say anything. Instead, he turned his gaze forward. At that moment, there was a fork in the road in front of them. There were two paths they could choose from. Both paths were filled with thorns, and the directions they were heading in were also different. This way. Lin Yuan pondered for a moment before he pointed to the path on the left and said, This should be the right path. Long Fei narrowed his eyes and swept a glance at Lin Yuan. He then laughed coldly. I think that the right path leads to the depths of the forest of no return. Lin Yuan did not expect Long Fei to refute his suggestion on the spot. His expression instantly changed, but because Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao were next to him, he could only swallow his dissatisfaction. Let's go. Yun Luofeng did not say anything else and stepped onto the path on the right. At that moment, Long Fei quickly stepped forward and whispered into Yun Luofeng's ear, Master, you don't have to care about anything you see on the way. No one was more familiar with the path to the forest of no return than Su Zhang and Long Fei. Now that she heard his words, Yun Luofeng immediately understood his intentions. She curled the corners of her lips slightly but did not stop Long Fei's actions. Regardless of what her subordinates wanted to do, she would give them the greatest support. City Lord, which path should we take? Everyone looked at Lin Yuan and asked in unison. Lin Yuan steeled his heart and said, We'll follow them. With that, he strode into the path on the right. Along the way, it was relatively peaceful and no spiritual beasts came to cause trouble for them. However, they had not walked for long when they involuntarily stopped in their tracks. On the side of the path not far away, countless medicinal herbs that could cause a sensation in the outside world stood in the wind as if they were waving at these unrestrained guests. That's blood ginseng? The legendary blood ginseng that can be hung on as long as a person still has one breath left? Is that a crystal mine beside the blood ginseng? And it's an unmined crystal mine? Heavens! There are so many rare treasures in this spirit beast forest. Legend has it that once consumed, it can increase a martial artist's spiritual chi. The guild leader is actually here. Holy shit, are we rich? Needless to say, the red common tree could not be compared with the one in Yun Luofeng's medicinal field. the spiritual power that it could provide to spiritualists was also very little. Even so, there were still many people who wanted to obtain it. There was no other reason. No matter how small an ant is, it's still meat. No matter how little spiritual chi was provided by the red eucalyptus tree, it could at least provide some for spiritualists. So, how could they not be shocked when they saw the red arbutus tree swaying in the wind? How could he not be excited? It's all thanks to the city lord that we were able to find these medicinal herbs this time. If it wasn't for the city lord, we wouldn't have been able to obtain them. There are so many medicinal herbs here. Except for the one that the city lord mansion doesn't need, we can each have one. Although I'm not a doctor, these herbs can be sold for a sky-high price. Chapter 743. So what if he wasn't a doctor? Couldn't he get the medicinal herbs if he wasn't a doctor? As long as they obtained these medicinal herbs and left the forest of no return, they could use them to ask for a favor from a famous doctor or sell them to others. However, up until now, these people hadn't forgotten what Lin Yuan had said before. He said that after coming to the forest of no return, no matter what he found, he wouldn't fight with anyone for it and would leave it all to others. Where else could they find such a righteous and selfless city lord? However, what the crowd didn't expect was that at this time, Lin Yuan was already cursing in his heart. Selfless? Selfless my ass. Everyone knew that there were many treasures in the forest of no return and countless precious medicinal herbs. However, discovering these also required luck. Those who were unlucky could only return empty-handed. Lin Yuan didn't expect his luck to be so good. As for the words he said at the city gate earlier, it was because he liked to be complimented, so he said it casually. Lin Yuan's expression was a little ugly. If it was in the past, these people would just take it. After everything was done, he would kill them and take the items. But now, Yun Luofeng had appeared out of nowhere. Based on a woman's character, could she let him succeed? City Lord. The people from the City Lord's mansion were also a little anxious. One should know that these medicinal herbs were too precious. They could be sold for a sky-high price at an auction. Moreover, they would be fought over by countless doctors. Wouldn't it be a pity if they gave it up now? Seeing that those people were walking towards the medicinal herbs, Lin Yuan finally said, "Wait!" Instantly, everyone stopped in their tracks and looked at him in confusion. Everyone? Lin Yuan's eyes flickered a few times and said righteously, "I did promise to give you the treasures in the forest of no return. However, these medicinal herbs are not treasures. Moreover, there are no doctors among you. It would be a waste to leave the medicinal herbs with you. Why don't you let me accept it? If you have any illnesses in the future, I will let the city lord's doctors treat you." The crowd suddenly moved and everyone was discussing among themselves as if they were discussing a choice. Seeing this, Lin Yuan continued, "Don't worry. Since I said that there will be treasures unearthed, those precious treasures will definitely exist. At that time, I will not leave a single one of you. It's all up to you." His words were very beautiful and righteous. For a moment, those people were somewhat convinced by his words. Indeed, to them, these medicinal herbs could only be sold for some money at most. It was better to leave them for the city lord's mansion. As long as the city lord didn't fight with them for the treasures, that would be enough. Lin Yuan slowly heaved a sigh of relief in his heart as he looked at their relaxed expressions. Just as he was about to continue speaking, laughter was suddenly heard from the side. "If you want to take these medicinal herbs for yourself, then just say it. Why do you have to find such excuses?" The young girl crossed her arms in front of her chest and lazily glanced at Lin Yuan. "Besides, it's not certain whether the treasures you mentioned exist or not. What if you take the medicinal ingredients for yourself and are unable to find any other treasures?" Yes. What if he took the medicinal herbs and didn't have any other treasures? Could they still snatch the medicinal herbs from his hands? At the thought of this, everyone looked at Lin Yuan with doubtful eyes. If it was yesterday, these people would definitely believe in Lin Yuan without hesitation. However, after the incident with Lin Ruoxin, their attitude towards Lin Yuan had changed slightly. Chapter 744. Lin Yuan nearly spat out a mouthful of blood. Would this woman die if she didn't oppose him? You, Lin Yuan, who had originally wanted to curse out loud, suddenly trembled when he met Yun Zhao's gaze, and he swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. He took a deep breath, changed his tone, and continued, I know you're very unhappy with me, but I, Lin Yuan, have always been upright. Since I've said that the treasures in the forest of no return will belong to them, I won't take any more. Yun Luofeng smiled faintly. Since that is the case, you still want to snatch the medicinal herbs? Medicinal herbs are not treasures. Lin Yuan glared at Yun Luofeng as he replied irritably. In my eyes, any precious item is a treasure. Yun Luofeng put down his crossed arms and swept his gaze across the crowd. However, I have a suggestion. You can keep the medicinal herbs first and return them to him when you find other treasures next time. Everyone nodded their heads. This was a good idea. City Lord, since you said that there are treasures unearthed in the forest of no return, then there must be treasures. In that case, you should have no objections to us keeping these medicinal herbs for you first, right? Lin Yuan's expression grew increasingly ugly as he clenched his fists so tightly that they made cracking sounds. A powerhouse no longer cared about Lin Yuan's expression as he turned around and walked towards one of the medicinal herbs. This time, even if they didn't find any treasures, they wouldn't have suffered a loss with these medicinal herbs in their hands. Stop! Lin Yuan roared angrily and quickly charged towards the powerhouse who wanted to keep the medicinal herbs. The aura on his body surged and instantly sent the powerhouse flying. At this moment, the crowd quietened down. Everyone turned to look at Lin Yuan with disbelief in their eyes. Not going to continue pretending? Yun Luofeng raised his brows and asked with a faint smile. Lin Yuan glared coldly at Yun Luofeng before turning his gaze towards the other dumbstruck people and scoffed. I want to see who dares to touch these medicinal herbs today. Since these people had come here, they couldn't possibly leave. His true identity couldn't be exposed either. Since that was the case, he couldn't be bothered to continue pretending. He might as well use force to stop these people from moving. Lin Yuan, you lied to us. Within the crowd, a beautiful woman reacted first, her face filled with anger. You said that all the treasures in the forest of no return belong to us. But now you want to monopolize the medicinal herbs for yourself. To think that I was moved by your words before. I thought you were a gentleman, but you're just a hypocrite. Sure enough, like daughter, like father, both of you are not good things. Actually, I should have guessed it long ago. What good is a person who doesn't even care about his own daughter? But I still chose to believe you. Everyone was a little agitated as they glared at Lin Yuan angrily. Their expressions were as if they wanted to tear him to pieces. Humph! Lin Yuan coldly snorted. So what if I lied to you? You are the ones who are too stupid to believe everything I say. Do you really think I came here to look for treasure? It was ridiculous. What a joke. His face was extremely gloomy as he coldly swept his gaze over these people. Then his gaze shifted towards Yun Luofeng. He didn't try to oppose him like he did at the beginning. The others are not worthy of these medicinal ingredients. Why don't we split them? Plus, we need to work together for the rest of the journey. Chapter 745. If possible, he wanted to monopolize the medicinal herbs. But he understood that he was no match for that cold man. If he wanted to have the medicinal herbs, he had to let go of all grudges and cooperate with them. Lin Yuan's words made Yun Luofeng smile. Her brows were full of smiles and the corners of her lips curled up slightly. You want to cooperate with me? Do you think you're worthy? Lin Yuan's expression changed. I know you're strong, but there are many dangers in the forest of no return. Do you think you can barge into the forest of no return alone with your strength? We can only survive if we cooperate. Don't worry. Even if you die 100 times, I won't die. The young girl's voice was very arrogant. Her condescending look showed that she did not put Lin Yuan in her eyes at all. Seeing that Lin Yuan was about to continue speaking, Yun Luofeng interrupted him. These medicinal herbs are too inferior. I don't like them. If you want them, go get them yourself. As for cooperation, don't even think about it. Red arbutus tree? Back then, Elder Rong from the medical pavilion had already given him one, and it was still in the divine grimoire space. She had even renamed the red arbutus tree to a spirit fruit tree. Blood ginseng? Do you think she needs to rely on blood ginseng? There was no need to talk about the other medicinal herbs. Not long ago, Yun Xiao had given her countless thousand-year medicinal herbs as a betrothal gift. After that, she had obtained many precious medicinal herbs from the Rat clan. So, she really didn't like these. Of course, more importantly, before entering the right path, Long Fei had told her that no matter what she saw, she didn't need to care about it. Even if she found any treasures, she couldn't take them. Lin Yuan's face was gloomy as he snorted and turned to walk towards the medicinal herbs. This woman really didn't know what was good for her. Since she didn't want them, then these medicinal herbs would all belong to him. Under everyone's angry gazes, Lin Yuan walked to the side of the medicinal herbs, squatted down and wanted to pick the medicinal herbs in front of him. In order to avoid damaging the medicinal herbs, his movements were extremely slow. He carefully picked up a medicinal herb from the ground and threw it into the space ring. Alright, next is the other medicinal herbs. Lin Yuan's gaze turned to another medicinal herb. At this moment, the people from the city lord's mansion who were standing behind him seemed to have seen something unbelievable. They widened their eyes in shock and shouted in panic. "City lord, be careful." What? Lin Yuan was stunned for a moment. He turned around and suddenly, a huge flower appeared behind him. It opened its mouth wide and revealed its sharp teeth as it bit towards Lin Yuan. However, Lin Yuan was quick to react. He quickly pulled the person closest to him and threw him into the man-eating flower's mouth. That person was caught off guard and was thrown in by Lin Yuan. Before he could call for help, he was swallowed by the man-eating flower. Taking advantage of this moment, Lin Yuan ran a few meters away. He wiped the sweat off his forehead, feeling a lingering fear. Almost, just a little bit more and the person who died would have been him. Fortunately, his reaction was rather agile, and he casually dragged a person to become cannon fodder. Lin Yuan would never have imagined that there would be a man-eating flower here. Ah! Suddenly, a frantic cry rang out from the crowd. A man charged towards Lin Yuan and roared furiously. "Lin Yuan, return my brother's life." The people that Lin Yuan had used as cannon fodder weren't the people from the city lord mansion, but the experts that had followed him here. Therefore, everyone present was furious. Chapter 746. Get lost. Lin Yuan's face turned cold as he threw a punch at the man's chest. Instantly, the man spat out 3 liters of blood and was sent flying backward. "Lin Yuan, you've gone too far. I thought that you were only deceiving the world. I never thought that you'd actually let someone else take the hit for you. You should pay with your life." The reason why these people were so furious was not because of the innocent man who had died. It was because there were too many dangers in the forest of no return. Others were the ones who died now. Perhaps the next moment, they would be the ones who were dragged to take the hit. Faced with the crowd's accusations, Lin Yuan stood with his hands behind his back and looked dignified. So what if I let him die in my place? Ask yourselves, based on his level of power, how can he be of any help to us in the upcoming journey? On the contrary, I can only be of greater use if I'm alive. Bullshit. The dead man's younger brother roared angrily and launched a second attack at Lin Yuan. However, before he could get close to Lin Yuan this time, he was sent flying a few hundred meters away by Lin Yuan's attack again. Blood gushed out of his mouth uncontrollably. No one dared to speak as they glared at Lin Yuan furiously. Lin Yuan laughed icily. "I'm doing this for all of you. Who would have thought that you wouldn't know what's good for you? If I die, our team's power will be reduced by half. By then, all of you will be wiped out." Everyone knew that Lin Yuan's words made sense. However, when they recalled what had just happened, waves of anger welled up in their hearts. However, no one stepped forward to speak up for the dead man. Gulp! After the man-eating flower had digested the man in its mouth, it turned towards Lin Yuan and launched another attack. This time, everyone who witnessed this scene retreated one after another, afraid that they would be thrown in to become nourishment for the man-eating flower. Yun Luofeng watched the battle coldly from the sidelines. Long Fei, did you deliberately lure him here? Long Fei nodded. Any expensive medicinal herb in the forest of no return will be guarded by a spiritual beast. However, the one guarding this place is a man-eating flower. Actually, the forest of no return isn't as dangerous as people think. Under normal circumstances, if you don't touch anything in the forest, those powerful spiritual beasts won't take the initiative to attack you. It was precisely because the people of the world were unable to control their greed after seeing the treasures that the spirit beasts guarding and protecting them attacked them. Long Fei thought for a moment and continued. If he didn't pluck that medicinal herb, the man-eating flower wouldn't have attacked him. The previous person's luck was better. Before he could pluck the medicinal herbs, he was sent flying by Lin Yuan. That was how he managed to escape the calamity. Greed was a curse that no human could escape. At this moment, the battle was getting more and more intense. The City Lord Manor's experts had already been reduced to nourishment for the man-eating flowers. Only Lin Yuan was fighting to the death. Even so, Lin Yuan was still injured, and one of his arms had been bitten off by the man-eating flower. No, if this goes on, I will definitely die here. Lin Yuan bit his lips. In the end, he still shamelessly faced Yun Xiao and said, "Please lend me a hand." Yun Xiao didn't even spare him a glance as her expression was as cold as usual, as if she didn't hear his cry for help. Lin Yuan's expression became even more unsightly. The forest of no return contains dangers that you can't imagine. If I die, you won't be able to escape your ultimate fate either. Chapter 747. Yun Xiao silently placed her hand inside her lapel. Seeing this scene, Lin Yuan's eyes lit up. He thought that Yun Xiao had finally been enlightened and decided to help him this time. But very quickly, his face stiffened. The man took out a red fruit from his lapel, wiped it with a handkerchief, and handed it to Yun Luofeng. "I've wiped it clean, you can eat it now." Lin Yuan almost vomited blood. "You're still in the mood to please a woman at a time like this? Do you think you can sweep through the forest of no return just because you're strong? The danger here is not something you can imagine." Yun Luofeng narrowed her eyes, took the fruit from Yun Xiao, and took a small bite. She liked to see Lin Yuan vomit blood from anger. Lin Yuan quickly withdrew his gaze, no longer looking at Yun Luofeng and the others, and focused on dealing with the man-eating flower in front of him. Finally, he found a flaw in the man-eating flower, and the sword in his hand slashed down, cutting its roots. The man-eating flower wanted to block it, but it was too late. It could only let its roots be cut, and slowly withered. Cough, cough. Lin Yuan took 2 steps back and coughed out a mouthful of blood. He wiped his face, but he could not tell if it was sweat or blood. It's finally over. In this battle, he had suffered heavy losses. Moreover, he had lost an arm. To a spiritualist, losing an arm was equivalent to losing half of his strength. Luckily, he still had these medicinal herbs. Looking at the medicinal herbs behind him, Lin Yuan felt a little gratified. He staggered forward, wanting to take all of these medicinal herbs into his arms. Suddenly, a dark green flame emerged from under the medicinal herbs, and in an instant, all of the medicinal herbs turned into ashes. Lin Yuan was stunned. His hand stopped in midair, and he stared in shock at the medicinal herbs that had turned into ashes under the flame. In an instant, a wave of anger surged into his heart. Who burned my medicinal herbs? Lin Yuan was furious. These medicinal herbs were exchanged for all of his subordinates from the city lord's residence, including his own arm. In the end, they were gone so quickly. Apologies, my hand slipped. While Lin Yuan was fuming with anger, a nefarious voice sounded from behind him, causing the fury in his heart to burn even greater. My hand slipped? Slip your sister? Your hand slipped and you burned his medicinal herbs? If your hand hadn't slipped, wouldn't you have burned the entire forest? Lin Yuan turned around, looked at Yun Luofeng, and asked through gritted teeth, "You did it on purpose." Yun Luofeng glanced at him evilly. "I wanted to burn the man-eating flower, but my hand slipped and I burned it in the wrong place. So what if she did it on purpose? Even if she had to burn all these medicinal herbs, she would never leave them for Lin Yuan. So be it. Yun Xiao looked coldly at Lin Yuan before turning her gaze towards Yun Luofeng. It's just a few medicinal herbs. It's no big deal. Just a few medicinal herbs? Hearing this man's arrogant words, everyone was a little stunned. How could he look down on these medicinal herbs that could be sold at a sky-high price? No wonder these two became husband and wife. They were the same people in their bones. Incomparably arrogant and domineering. Only these two people would dare to say such words. Even if the others were given enormous guts, they would not have the courage to do so. Chapter 748. Lin Yuan's face was pale, and he was so angry that his entire body was trembling. He had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen anyone this shameless. Unfortunately, he did not have the guts to provoke Yun Xiao. Humph! Lin Yuan fiercely flung his sleeves and continued forward. Since there were so many medicinal herbs here, it meant that there would be a lot of medicinal herbs along the way. However, what made Lin Yuan collapse was that whenever he found a precious medicinal herb, Yun Luofeng would burn it all down after he had painstakingly gotten rid of the spiritual beast guarding the herb. Especially when she used the same excuse. Her hand slipped? How could her hand have slipped so many times? As Yun Luofeng continued to cause trouble, Lin Yuan simply ignored the medicinal herbs along the way. After all, even if he defeated the spiritual beast, he would not get any medicinal herbs. Logically speaking, the deeper they went, the more powerful spiritual beasts there would be. However, ever since they had stepped onto this path, no spiritual beast had attacked them unless it was to snatch the items guarded by the spiritual beasts. Hence, Yun Luofeng and the others had a very smooth journey. Master. Suddenly, Long Fei stopped in his tracks. His expression was a little ugly and his hands, which were placed by his sides, involuntarily clenched. This is the deepest part of the forest of no return. Yun Luofeng gently raised his brows. Does this mean that we're already here? Long Fei nodded and slowly turned his gaze towards Suzheng. The valley was serene, and under the azure sky, everything was silent. It was so quiet that only the sound of the wind blowing through the branches could be heard. At this moment, Su Zheng's face was a little pale. He clutched his chest tightly and looked like he was in great pain. Roar! Suddenly, Su Zheng raised his head and let out a loud roar. That roar shook the heavens and the earth as if he was venting some sort of emotion. However, after he had finished roaring, his body slightly bent over and his hands were still clutching his chest tightly. Uncle Master. At this moment, everyone's eyes were focused on Su Zheng. Long Fei also hurriedly stepped forward and supported Su Zheng's body. Uncle Master, are you all right? Su Zheng shook his head and gently closed his eyes. His expression was one of agony. Move aside. Long Fei. Yun Luofeng's face was solemn as she hurried over to Su Zheng's back. The moment Long Fei stepped aside, her palm landed heavily on Su Zheng's body. Roar! Another loud roar rang out. This time, his roar contained great power, causing the entire forest to tremble a few times. Yun Luofeng's gaze shifted from Su Zheng to the transparent barrier in front of him. His eyes were cold. This place is a little strange. If I'm not wrong, your martial uncle is in so much pain because of this seal. Long Fei smiled bitterly and nodded. We have been here before. Martial uncle will become like this whenever he gets close to this place, so we had no choice but to retreat. Master, do you have any way to help us? Yun Luofeng stroked her chin and fell silent. To be honest, she didn't have much confidence in breaking through this barrier. Lin Yuan glanced at the silent Yun Luofeng, smiled coldly, and walked towards the barrier. It's just a seal. This time I came for this seal. I don't believe that I can't break it. When he looked at Yun Luofeng, his eyes were clearly filled with disdain. Chapter 749. Lin Yuan walked up to the barrier and took a deep breath. There was a grave look in his eyes. At that moment, the woman's beautiful face appeared in his mind, causing his heart to be filled with excitement. As long as he broke this barrier, he would be able to see the woman of his dreams. Boom! Lin Yuan's fist was wrapped in a layer of powerful energy as he fiercely slammed it against the barrier. In an instant, a wave of energy shot out from the barrier and sent his body flying. Someone in the crowd sneered at the sight of this. Lin Yuan, didn't you say that this is just a mere seal? It looks like you can't even break a mere seal. How dare you be so arrogant? Lin Yuan's expression was a little ugly. He crawled up from the ground and quickly charged towards the seal. The fist arrived with a loud bang. The wind from the fist was swift and fierce like a huge mountain. However, the seal under his fist did not budge at all. Instead, his body shot out once again. Impossible! Lin Yuan's expression was one of astonishment. I've already used all my strength to attack. Logically speaking, I should be able to break this seal. Why isn't it moving at all? As he thought about it, his face involuntarily turned pale. It looks like this Lin Yuan is completely useless. Long Fei shook his head. If I had known that he would be so useless, I would have gotten rid of him earlier. Lin Yuan's eyes turned cold as he said coldly, among these people, only I have some understanding of the seal and know what its weakest point is. However, even I can't break it. There's no one here who can break the seal. Long Fei was a little angry as he glared fiercely at Lin Yuan. However, at that moment, Su Zhang suddenly stood up and madly charged towards the seal. His fists attacked the seal again and again. His eyes were bloodshot as if they were about to split open. Uncle Master! Long Fei turned pale with fright when he saw Su Zhang's crazed look. He hurriedly went forward to stop him. However, he was stopped by Su Zhang's shout before he could reach him. Get lost! Su Zhang turned around and roared angrily at Long Fei. I must enter this damned seal. My compatriots are waiting for me inside. How can I hide outside alone? Unfortunately, no matter how strong Su Zhang's strength was, he was not a match for this seal. Every time he attacked the seal, he would be injured by the rebound of the seal and spit out a mouthful of blood. Even so, it did not stop him. Long Fei's eyes reddened. Although his martial uncle was usually very frivolous, no matter how much hardship he encountered, it would not stop him from taking liberties with innocent women. However, Uncle Master's feelings towards the other Beast Kings were equally sincere. His brothers and sisters were in danger, so how could he be free and unfettered outside? Even if he couldn't save them, he would face life and death together with them. This was his martial uncle, a lecherous, shameless, yet respectable hero. Martial uncle, I'll go with you. Even if I'll be smashed to pieces by the rebound of the seal, I won't retreat. Long Fei's gaze became more and more resolute. He took heavy steps towards the seal. If even Master couldn't do anything, perhaps no one would be able to save his master. Therefore, he could only live and die together with everyone. Looking at Su Zhang and Long Fei's reckless actions, Yun Luofeng gently lowered his eyes and asked, Xiaomo, do you have any ideas? Chapter 750. Master, I don't know much about this seal. Little Mo's voice was weak, clearly a little depressed. He also wanted to help Yun Luofeng, but there were many things that he could not remember, and he did not know how to break this seal. Yun Luofeng thought for a moment and looked at Yun Xiao. Yun Xiao, help me control Lin Yuan. The young girl's voice was like a light breeze that fell into Lin Yuan's ears. Lin Yuan's face originally had a disdainful smile, but after hearing those words, he suddenly froze and stared in horror at the grim man walking towards him. You, what do you want? Lin Yuan took a few steps back and gulped with some difficulty. Boom! A powerful force hit his back and he immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. He staggered forward and suddenly knelt on the ground. The man's leg was placed on his shoulder. As long as he exerted some force, his shoulder would immediately collapse. Therefore, in the face of Yun Zhao's threat, Lin Yuan did not dare to move at all. His pale face was filled with fear. What do you want? Even if you want to kill me, you should at least give me a reason to die. Yun Luofeng gently stroked his chin and narrowed his eyes as he walked towards Lin Yuan. He smiled evilly. How much do you know about the seal? I don't know. Lin Yuan's face became even paler. I only know that every seal has a weak point. As long as I attack that point, I can break the seal. However, this seal is clearly a little different. I've already attacked its weak point, but there is still no movement. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and continued to ask, "Is there anything else you haven't told me? For example, the principle behind the seal." Lin Yuan did not understand what was called principle, but he knew that Yun Luofeng did not know how to seal at all. Even if she wanted to learn now, it was too late. What could she learn in such a short period of time? Although this was what Lin Yuan thought, he did not dare to express it. Instead, he obediently explained everything about the seal. As he listened, Yun Luofeng became silent. She kept feeling that the principle behind the construction of this seal seemed to be similar to something. Puppets? Creating humans? Suddenly, Yun Luofeng reacted. Wasn't the principle behind this seal very similar to the method of creating puppets? And the creation of puppets was invented by Zhu Qian. Could it be that this seal has something to do with Zhu Qian? Thinking of this, Yun Luofeng was overjoyed. She hurriedly took out the puppet-making book that she had obtained from Zhu Qian's hiding place. Then, she found a place to sit down and quietly flipped through the book in her hand. She really wants to learn on the spot? Lin Yuan was a little dumbfounded as he stared at the girl who was studying under the tree. The others were also stunned. Who would have thought that at this time, Yun Luofeng would still be studying? She was a person who didn't even understand seals. How could she learn how to remove the seal in such a short period of time? This was simply a fantasy story. Yun Luofeng did not care about the doubtful or disdainful gazes. His fingers nimbly flipped the pages of the book in his hands. This book had been in her hands for many days, but she had never had the time to read it. Other than the words on the first page, she had no idea what the rest of the content was. Found it! Yun Luofeng's eyes brightened. As expected, apart from puppets, Zhu Qian also invented the existence of seals. If this pervert is still alive, I'm afraid that the entire mainland will be his. Chapter 751. It was a pity that such a brilliant genius who was proficient in everything had perished in this vast sea of people so early on. Thinking of this, Yun Luofeng felt some regret. Since the seal was also invented by Zhu Qian, then there must be a way to break all the seals in this book. Yun Luofeng's expression became serious once again as he seriously looked at the book in his hands. Time passed minute by minute. The girl under the tree's shade had a focused expression and was not at all affected by the noise outside. Long Fei's body could not hold on any longer. He was drenched in blood and his entire arm was stiff as if it would break if he was not careful. Long Fei, Suzheng, get out of the way. Just as Long Fei was about to continue attacking the seal, a shout came from behind them. Long Fei's body stiffened and he turned to look at Yun Luofeng. Master, Long Fei, you've worked hard. Yun Luofeng smiled. Leave the rest to me. Her smile was exceptionally bright and beautiful. It was different from the evil aura she had before, but it was like a ray of sunlight that shone into his heart. Long Fei was stunned. He stared blankly at the girl's bright and beautiful smile and could not help but fall into a daze. However, just as he was in a daze, a cold gaze shot towards him from behind, making him feel as if there was a sharp blade on his back. He hurriedly retracted his gaze and coughed awkwardly. Yun Luofeng had already stopped in front of the seal. She patted Su Zheng's shoulder and said in a determined tone, I will definitely save them. Su Zheng's body stiffened. He did not know why, but at this moment, his restless heart uncontrollably calmed down. Thank you. His throat was a little dry and his voice became hoarse. Yun Luofeng did not say anything else and raised his head to look at the seal that was blocking their way. If it was in the past, Lin Yuan would have definitely mocked Yun Luofeng for overestimating his own capabilities. But now he was still under Yun Zhao's threat. If he dared to say a word, this man would certainly bury him here. Thus, he only glanced at Yun Luofeng with a disdainful gaze before looking away. It was not just him. Besides Yun Zhao, who had always believed in Yun Luofeng, Long Fei and Su Zheng, no one else thought that Yun Luofeng could break the seal. The reason was very simple. This woman did not know how to break the seal at all. She was learning on the spot and had only spent a little time. What could she have learned? Did she really think she was a god who ruled over the world? Know everything? Long Fei and Su Zheng stared at Yun Luofeng without blinking. Their breathing was rapid, and their expressions were very nervous. Yun Luofeng did not say anything. He only placed his palm on the formation and slowly closed his eyes, standing quietly in the gentle breeze. What is she doing? I'm not sure. He's probably sensing something. What can you sense with just one hand? Do you think it's because she doesn't understand? That person wanted to ask Yun Luofeng if he was pretending to know. However, when she remembered that Yun Xiao was still at the side, she hurriedly retracted her words and timidly glanced at him. Obviously, in the eyes of these people, Yun Xiao had already become an evil person who killed without batting an eye. At this moment, Yun Luofeng gradually opened his eyes. His pitch-black eyes shone with a bright light. For a moment, everyone's gazes gathered on her once again, their eyes filled with doubt. Chapter 752. A gust of wind blew past and Yun Luofeng's hair fluttered in the wind. Spiritual energy poured out of Yun Luofeng's body and blasted towards the seal at a speed visible to the naked eye. Boom! The powerful spiritual energy blasted against the seal. But Yun Luofeng was not sent flying as everyone had imagined. Instead, the seal that had not moved at all trembled under Yun Luofeng's attack. That's right, the seal had indeed moved a little. Even a small change was enough to shock everyone. How is this possible? Lin Yuan's face was a little pale. She clearly just came into contact with the seal. How could she have this kind of strength? Could it be that she really learned how to seal in that short period of time? Lin Yuan's words caused everyone present to gasp in shock. Through that short period of time, she went from someone who knew nothing about the seal to someone who could break the seal. What could be used to describe this kind of talent? Lin Yuan suddenly felt a little regretful. He regretted opposing the young girl. He regretted offending her in the past. However, what Lin Yuan did not understand was why he, Su Zhang, and the others had failed when they had also used brute force to attack the seal, but only she had succeeded? Actually, this was very easy to answer. Although Lin Yuan had some understanding of the seal, it was only the tip of the iceberg. He had simply thought that the center of all the seals was the weakest place. In reality, that was not the case. Yun Luofeng had closed her eyes just now to sense where the chi gate of the seal was. If it had been anyone else, they would have needed many days to sense the chi gate. What's more, some powerful seals could even hide the chi gate so that people would not be able to sense it. However, Yun Luofeng's spiritual energy was too abnormal. Coupled with the divine grimoire's continuous supply of spiritual energy to her, she was able to find the chi gate using the method that Zhu Qian had written. Boom! Yun Luofeng attacked once again. Under her bombardment, the seal shook even more violently. Even the entire mountain range began to shake. Inside the seal, beside the clear pool, the gray-robed man was sweating profusely. His hand was pressed tightly against the woman's chest on the ground. Traces of spiritual energy gathered at the woman's chest. This beast king will belong to me in a while. The gray-robed man's lips curled into a proud smile. He narrowed his eyes slightly. However, her resistance was too strong. I spent a lot of energy to subdue her. Fortunately, this energy was not wasted. Boom! Suddenly, the gray-robed man felt the ground tremble, and his face darkened. Who is it? Who is breaking my seal? How dare you? The gray-robed man stood up and looked at the green-robed woman on the ground. A sinister light flashed in his eyes as he said, I'm going to deal with those people first. I'll come back later to subdue you. After saying that, he turned around and walked outside the seal. Seeing cracks appear on the seal under Yun Luofeng's attacks, everyone's eyes lit up as they cried out in their hearts. Just a little bit more, and I can break this seal. As long as we break the seal, we can find the most precious treasure of the forest of no return. Even Lin Yuan's eyes lit up. If he could break the seal, it would mean that he was one step closer to the realm of bliss. Boom! When the last attack landed, the seal finally shattered into formless fragments under this powerful attack, scattering in the air like stars. Chapter 753. Who broke my seal? The moment the seal was broken, a gloomy voice floated down from the mountain path in front of them. This voice was eerie and terrifying, like a poisonous snake wrapped around one's neck. Just hearing him speak made one feel suffocated. Yun Xiao had arrived at Yun Luofeng's side at some point in time, and his expression was unprecedentedly serious. A man in gray robes slowly walked down the mountain path. He was clearly more than 10 meters away, but he only took 2 steps to reach the foot of the mountain. Lin Yuan's heart trembled when he saw the man in gray robes. A wave of fear surged in his heart. He could clearly sense that this man in gray was very powerful. He was so powerful that he could not match up to him. "It's her." Lin Yuan swallowed hard, pointed at Yun Luofeng and said, "She broke your seal. It has nothing to do with us." The man in gray robes turned his gaze towards Yun Luofeng in the direction that Lin Yuan was pointing at. His originally gloomy face changed drastically when he saw Yun Luofeng. He said furiously, "What is your relationship with that bastard Zhu Qian? Why do you have his aura on you?" Zhu Qian? Yun Luofeng was stunned. He could sense Zhu Qian's aura on his body. Could it be because of that book? Damn it! The man in gray robes charged towards Yun Luofeng angrily. The aura on his body surged and his eyes were filled with intense anger. A man in black flashed and stood in front of Yun Luofeng. He was expressionless and incomparably cold. He gently raised his palm and blocked the man in gray's attack. Bang! In an instant, an intense storm was set off in the surroundings. Countless trees were destroyed in the storm. Not even a single piece of wood was left. Yun Xiao. Yun Luofeng quickly walked in front of Yun Xiao. His eyes were filled with worry. "How are you?" "I'm fine." Cough. Yun Xiao coughed as soon as he said that. Fresh blood splashed onto the ground. It was a ghastly sight. Yun Luofeng's heart clenched when he saw this. A wave of anger surged in his heart as his black eyes turned coldly towards the man in gray robes. "Where is that bastard Zhu Qian?" The gray-robed man clenched his fist tightly and roared angrily. "Hand him over! I want to hack him into pieces." Yun Luofeng sneered. "Zhu Qian died a long time ago. Where are you going to find him?" "Dead." The gray-robed man snorted coldly. "If he's dead, you won't have his aura on you. Immediately hand over Zhu Qian. Otherwise, I'll definitely grind your bones to dust." Yun Xiao tightly grabbed onto Yun Luofeng's arm, her voice low and hoarse. "I'll hold him back, you leave." "Yun Xiao, go!" Yun Xiao's voice could not help but grow heavier as his gaze slowly turned towards Yun Luofeng. "Leave! I'll find you later." "Leave?" Yun Luofeng laughed bitterly. Where could she escape to at this time? Furthermore, she would never abandon Yun Xiao and leave on her own. "Yun Xiao, my grandfather once said that as a member of the Yun family, I would rather die on the battlefield than abandon my companions and run away." Yun Luofeng smiled as a bright light shone from the space between her brows. "That's why, even if I have to live and die with you, I won't let you face danger alone." Die? How could she not be afraid? Compared to death, she was more afraid of losing him. "Are you done with your nonsense?" The gray-robed man frowned impatiently. "I'll give you one more chance. Hand that bastard over to me." Yun Luofeng's gaze turned towards the gray-robed man once again. "You hate Zhu Qian to the core. Could it be that Zhu Qian has let you down?" Chapter 754. The man in gray's face darkened and his eyes burned with anger. "Little girl, you're ruining my reputation. That bastard Zhu Qian and I are irreconcilable enemies." It was impossible for any normal man to not be angry after hearing these words. That bastard! The man in gray gritted his teeth when he thought of Zhu Qian's actions in the past. "He caused me to become like this. Not only am I immortal, but my cultivation has also stagnated. He knew what I fancied the most, so he used this method to punish me." Zhu Qian was a person from 1,000 years ago. In other words, the man in gray had lived for at least 1,000 years. His cultivation had stagnated in the past 1,000 years. What kind of cruel torture was this for him? Perhaps he had thought of all sorts of ways to break the curse that Zhu Qian had placed on him. "It looks like it wasn't Zhu Qian who let you down, but you who let him down." Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. "However, this is your grudge. What does it have to do with me? I don't know Zhu Qian, and I don't know you either." Humph. The man in gray snorted coldly. Little girl, if you don't know the situation, then shut up. I'm that bastard's only disciple. He didn't even teach me the method of forging puppets. Even this seal, I only learned it by secretly reading his books. However, that bastard discovered that I secretly learned the seal and expelled me from the sect. He even made me look like a ghost. My grudge with him is absolutely irreconcilable. Even if he's dead, I'll dig him out and grind his bones to ashes. If one didn't hear his reason, they would probably think that Zhu Qian had raped his wife and daughter and dug up his ancestral grave. However, in the end, he actually said that he hated Zhu Qian to the core because Zhu Qian didn't teach him the method of forging puppets. Zhu Qian is talented and extremely intelligent. However, the biggest mistake he made in his life was taking you as his disciple. You're lying. Grey Robe was so angry that his entire body trembled. I'm his only disciple. If he doesn't teach me what he knows, do you think he'll take it with him to his grave? The reason why I want to learn all of this is so that I can inherit his legacy on behalf of him, so that his abilities won't be known. Yun Luofeng narrowed her eyes. The anger in her chest grew. Are you saying that Zhu Qian should thank you? Not bad. The gray-robed man raised his chin slightly and said eerily, I'm just trying to bring glory to my family. Who would have thought that that bastard would be too stubborn? That year I had begged him so much, but he still didn't teach me what he knew. Otherwise, I wouldn't have needed to secretly learn his sealing technique. Unfortunately, before I could steal the puppet forging method, I was discovered by him. Yun Luofeng laughed. She laughed because she was angered by the gray-robed man. If I were Zhu Qian, I wouldn't have cursed you back then. Instead, I would have killed you. Kill me? The gray-robed man's dark eyes glanced at Yun Luofeng. Do you think you have the ability to do so? It's true that I don't have the ability now. However, one day, I will clean up Zhu Qian's house for him. Although Yun Luofeng didn't say anything, she had already regarded Zhu Qian as her master in her heart. The reason for this was none other than the fact that she had obtained the method of forging puppets from Zhu Qian. Since she was learning Zhu Qian's abilities, she could also be considered his disciple. Therefore, cleaning up her master's house was something that she had to do. Chapter 755. Ha ha ha. The gray-robed man laughed maniacally. His laughter was arrogant and carried a gloomy aura. Unfortunately, you won't have a future. After saying that, the gray-robed man did not waste any more words and launched an attack at Yun Luofeng. At the crucial moment, it was Yun Xiao who stepped forward and blocked the gray-robed man's irresistible attack. The gray-robed man's attack was ferocious and every move was fatal. What should we do? The other experts who had followed Lin Yuan here looked at each other in dismay. They could feel the power of the battle and could not help but retreat. Go! We have to leave this place immediately. This kind of battle is not something we can handle. At that thought, those people turned around to escape. Want to leave? The gray-robed man sneered when he saw those figures turning around to escape. Then, the aura on his body suddenly attacked that group of people. In an instant, the entire forest was burning with raging flames. Ah! Mournful cries could be heard from within the raging flames, causing the entire forest to tremble. Lin Yuan shrunk his neck in fear and tried his best to reduce his presence. Fortunately, he was so frightened that he could not move and did not run away with those people. Otherwise, the person being burned at the stake would definitely be him. The others who were lucky enough to escape were also greatly shocked. Some were so frightened that they wet their pants and looked at the two people who were fighting in fear. Not far away, in the dense forest, a horse was forcefully pulled by its reins and stopped. On the horse, the lady in red frowned slightly and turned her gaze to the burning forest. She said in a low voice, "Brother Yi, what's going on over there? Did the Beast King of the Forest of No Return have a dispute and a war broke out? Why don't we go and take a look?" Yi Jingchen asked after a moment of silence. "All right." The lady in red nodded slightly. "Xiao and Luofeng are both in the Forest of No Return. I'm really worried. It's better to go and take a look." "Stop!" Yi Jingchen pulled the reins tightly and turned around, walking quickly into the burning forest. In the forest, everything was burning. Yun Zhao's face was a little pale, but his eyes were still cold. Compared to him, the gray-robed man's face was filled with shock. Obviously, he did not expect his opponent to be able to withstand so many attacks from him. It seemed like there were more geniuses on this continent than before after his long absence. Unfortunately, no matter how much of a genius he was, it all came to an end. Kid, I admit that you're very talented. However, no matter how much of a genius you are, you'll definitely fall here today. Boom! The gray-robed man's attack arrived once again. This time, he used all of his strength, causing a strong gust of wind to blow around him, causing his robes to flutter. Bang! Yun Zhao blocked his opponent's attack. Instantly, he felt his arm go numb as traces of blood gradually spread out from his arm. He did not retreat, not even by a single step, because he understood that if he took a step back, then he would relax his defense against this attack. At that time, Yun Luofeng would definitely be affected. For her, he must not retreat. Boom! Yun Zhao's face was expressionless as he channeled his power. It was impossible to tell what fear was on his face, nor did he know what pain was. Chapter 756. It was as if this man, apart from Yun Luofeng, wouldn't have any feelings that transcended callousness. He was like a tree. No matter how the wind and rain battered him, he would still shelter her. Yun Zhao. Yun Luofeng hurriedly walked in front of Yun Zhao. When she saw his arm covered in fresh blood, her heart fiercely ached, as if it was being torn apart. But compared to the heartache, her heart was filled with even more fury. You're actually still alive after receiving my all-out attack? The gray-robed man was a little surprised. The vitality of people nowadays has already reached this level? Yun Zhao's face was expressionless. If I die, she will be injured. The gray-robed man was stunned, not understanding what he meant by that. So I won't die. The man's voice was low and hoarse. His figure, at this moment, was like a tall and large mountain, blocking in front of Yun Luofeng, shielding her from all danger. If he died, no one would be able to protect her anymore. So, how could he die? Yun Luofeng clenched her fists tightly. This was the first time she felt so powerless. Power. If she had enough power, Yun Zhao wouldn't have been injured, and they wouldn't have encountered the danger they were in today. But in the end, her power was still not enough. Boom. Right at this moment, an arrogant voice seemed to break through the sky and reverberated in her mind. As my Zhu Qian's successor, how can you fall at a time like this? Little girl, let me lend you a helping hand. Zhu Qian? Successor? Yun Luofeng was originally shocked by the arrogant and domineering voice. Suddenly, she caught a few words in those words and was stunned on the spot. Zhu Qian? Wasn't he already dead? And why was she the only one who heard those words? The others didn't seem to hear the man's incomparably arrogant voice. Zhu Qian, where are you? Yun Luofeng calmed her mind and asked. Because Zhu Qian's voice rang out in her mind, this question was also asked using soul sound transmission. Back then, I was chased by those strong practitioners and ended up dying. But my soul luckily escaped. I returned to that palace and left a remnant soul in the book. In addition, if the person who obtains this book encounters danger in the future, this remnant soul will come out to save their life. Little girl, lend your body to me. Let me meet this traitorous disciple. However, as the price for saving you, I need you to do something for me. Yun Luofeng suppressed the surge in his heart and said, Please speak. Even though my physical body has fallen, my body is still here. What I want you to do is to find my reincarnation. Take him as your disciple. All right, I promise you. Yun Luofeng raised his eyes slightly and said, But you should tell me how I can find him. You don't have to worry about that. When you see him, you will naturally feel it. As soon as Zhu Qian's words fell, Yun Luofeng's body trembled violently. It was as if a powerful force had penetrated into her body and forcefully possessed her. However, this was with Yun Luofeng's permission. Without Yun Luofeng's permission, Zhu Qian's remnant soul would not be able to take over her body. Yun Zhao had originally wanted Yun Luofeng to leave immediately, but in the instant she met the young girl's black eyes, Her expression turned cold. "Who are you?" Yun Luofeng did not speak as she slowly walked towards the gray-robed person. Her eyes were faintly suffused with a red light, wild and domineering. Chapter 757. You are. He did not know why, but when he saw the current Yun Luofeng, a sense of fear gradually rose from the bottom of the man's heart. He could not help but take a step back. In the beginning, he had only sensed Zhu Qian's aura from Yun Luofeng's body. Now, this aura was growing stronger and stronger. It was as if he was facing the powerful cultivator from 1,000 years ago, Zhu Qian. That gaze and that expression were exactly the same as Zhu Qian's. It was no wonder that the man in gray was so afraid. Seeing that Yun Luofeng was getting closer and closer, the man in gray no longer cared about his dignity. He turned around and ran up the mountain. In that instant, everyone was dumbfounded. Why had the man in gray, who had been so ferocious just a moment ago, become so timid? He had actually run away? Before the crowd could recover from their shock, they saw a scene that they would never forget. All they saw was Yun Luofeng slowly raising his hand. Instantly, dark green flames covered the sky as they attacked Lin Yuan. Soon, Lin Yuan's shrill cries rang out from the mountain path. "Who on earth are you?" Yun Xiao had unknowingly walked in front of Yun Luofeng. His grim eyes stared icily at the familiar face in front of him. However, the expression on the young girl's face was unfamiliar to him. Suddenly, Yun Luofeng's body went limp and he lost his balance. He fell towards the ground. At this moment, Yun Xiao reacted quickly and quickly supported his body. "Yun Xiao." The young girl's lips parted slightly. She was a little weak. At this moment, Yun Luofeng's expression returned to the familiar one. His expression gradually softened. "What happened?" "It's nothing." Yun Luofeng shook his head. "Someone helped me." Yun Xiao hugged the young girl's body tightly. He gently lowered his head and rested his chin on the young girl's shoulder, wanting to rub her into his flesh and blood. Yun Luofeng's body stiffened. At this moment, she could feel the fear in the man's heart. He was deeply afraid that his body would be taken over and he would never return. "Yun Xiao, I'm fine. If I hadn't been willing, he wouldn't have been able to take over my body." Yun Luofeng smiled faintly. In reality, when she had asked Zhu Qian to take over her body, she had hesitated. If he did not return her body after the possession, then from then on, this body would be under his control. But she had no other choice. Yun Xiao had sacrificed so much for her, so if she could save him, so what if her body was taken away? She would not regret it. "Little girl, the last bit of power I have left has already been used to save you, so I will disappear very soon." Zhu Qian's arrogant voice rang out in her mind once again. "To be honest, I see the shadow of me from back then in you." They were equally arrogant, confident, domineering, and arrogant. "If the heavens go against me, then I will go against the heavens. If the gods and Buddhas want to kill me, then I will slaughter all the gods and Buddhas in the world first." 1,000 years ago, in the eyes of the continent's powerhouses, I, Zhu Qian, was a devil that everyone had the right to kill. Everyone wants to kill me, but do they really want to kill me? No, they only want my book, but they still use such a high-sounding excuse. How laughable! How lamentable! Yun Luofeng fell silent. Indeed, as Zhu Qian had said, there were too many people in this world who were exuberant and righteous. In reality, those people were only doing it for their own benefit. Ha ha! Suddenly, Zhu Qian laughed maniacally. His laughter was filled with madness. "I, Zhu Qian, have never given in to anyone. Even if I die, I will definitely die standing. I will never kneel and live." Chapter 758. Gazing at the door, thinking of Zhang Jian, enduring death for a moment, waiting for due general, I will raise my blade and laugh at the heavens, leaving my heart and soul behind. Ha ha ha, so what if I die? Now that I have you as my successor and my reincarnation, someone will avenge me. I will raise my blade and laugh at the heavens? How domineering must one be to say such words? But this was Zhu Qian. Zhu Qian, who had always been fearless and dared to compare himself to the heavens. Unfortunately, after throwing down those incomparably arrogant words, Zhu Qian's voice disappeared and never appeared again. Yun Luofeng knew that he had completed his mission and left. However, the words he had said before he left still lingered in her ears, causing her heart to be filled with shock. Zhu Qian, don't worry. Yun Luofeng clenched her fists tightly as her heart became even more determined. I will definitely find your reincarnation. Furthermore, if that person is still alive, I will avenge you. She had always been a man of her word. Since she had agreed, she would definitely do it. At the thought of this, Yun Luofeng's gaze gradually turned towards the gray-robed man who was wailing incessantly on the mountain path. The first thing is to clean up your sect. Yun Luofeng slowly walked towards the gray-robed man. As your master, you should accept what Zhu Qian taught you. If he was unwilling to teach you, you could only endure it. Yet you have gone against the grain. I will first clean up this sect for him. The gray-robed man glared fiercely at Yun Luofeng. I was not wrong, he was the one who was wrong. If he had not been unwilling to pass his mantle to me, I would not have revealed his whereabouts to anyone else. He reaped what he sowed today. Yun Luofeng's footsteps paused slightly. You were the one who revealed his whereabouts? That's right. The gray-robed man gritted his teeth. His face was contorted due to the pain, and his voice was hoarse and unpleasant to the ears. He is a bastard. He deserves to die. Boom! Yun Luofeng raised his hand and an attack landed. The gray-robed man's body immediately stumbled a few steps back as a trickle of blood trickled down the corner of his mouth. Damn it! The gray-robed man wanted to extinguish the flames, but the flames seemed to have taken root in his body and kept burning. If it wasn't for the fact that he was surrounded by flames, he only needed to blow a breath to make this woman's soul scatter. The sound of footsteps came from the top of the mountain path. Everyone's bodies trembled as they lifted their heads to look at the woman who was slowly walking down the mountain path. The woman was dressed in green, and her eyes were a little dull. She took light steps and gradually walked down the mountain. With every step she took, everyone's heart rate increased. There's another one? Some of the people who didn't know the truth saw the woman walking down, and their hearts started beating again. Thump, thump. The entire foot of the mountain was so quiet that only the sound of everyone's heartbeat could be heard. Master! Long Fei was overjoyed. He wanted to walk towards the woman, but he had only taken a few steps when he was pulled back by Su Zheng. Wait! Something's not right. Su Zheng furrowed his brows tightly. His gaze locked onto the green-robed woman. Ha! Suddenly, the gray-robed man let out a wild laugh. I succeeded. I finally succeeded. Fu Shang. Immediately go and kill these people for me. His gaze was ferocious, and he even forgot his own situation as he fiercely swept his gaze over everyone present. Chapter 759. The woman in green slowly raised her hand. The man in gray laughed even more wildly. He could already see the scene of Yun Luofeng collapsing in a pool of blood. Yun Xiao stood expressionlessly in front of Yun Luofeng, staring coldly at the woman in green. No matter who this woman was, anyone who harmed her would not be allowed to live. Whoosh! A wind blade flashed out from the woman in green's hand. However, the direction of the wind blade was not towards Yun Luofeng, but towards the man in gray who was surrounded by the flames. The man in gray was stunned. He had not been able to dodge the wind blade. His body, which was already in pain, was now in even greater pain. Fresh blood seeped out from his arm. What are you doing? He asked the woman in green angrily. The woman in green's eyes gradually regained clarity. Sorry, I just woke up and was still a little dazed. Then hurry up and kill him. All right. Hearing the woman in green's reply, the man in gray finally heaved a sigh of relief. However, just as he relaxed, countless wind blades came towards him again. In an instant, he became a live target. Fu Shang, what are you doing? The woman in green blinked. You're the one who told me to kill them. These are the people I told you to kill. The man in gray became even more furious as he roared angrily. The woman in green smiled gently. Her smile was charming and charming, as warm as the sun's rays. I can still distinguish who I should kill. You've caused so much harm to my forest of no return. Do you think I'll let you off? The man in gray was stunned. He looked at the beautiful face of the woman in green in shock. Impossible, how is this possible? Your consciousness was actually not erased by me? If that's the case, how did you break free from my seal? Fu Sheng smiled coldly. When I was unconscious, I heard someone calling me from afar. I felt his anger, sorrow, and uncontrollable emotions, so I woke up. All of this was due to the holy fruit that she had fed Fu Sheng. If it had not been for the holy fruit, she would not have been able to clearly sense his emotions. Perhaps she really would have been controlled by this man in gray. Master! Long Fei was overjoyed and hurriedly rushed towards Fu Sheng. When he arrived in front of Fu Sheng, he stopped and said excitedly, Master, you are finally safe and sound. Martial uncle and I were very worried about you during this period of time. Fu Sheng turned her head and revealed a gentle smile to Long Fei. Her smile was like a gentle breeze that brushed past his face. Thank you for your hard work. Su Zheng opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but in the face of that lovely face, he couldn't say anything in the end. Ha ha ha! The gray-robed man laughed maniacally in a malevolent manner once again. He swept his gaze across the crowd standing on the mountain path and sneered. I know that I won't be able to leave this place in one piece today. However, I'd rather use all the energy from my damaged dantian to send all of you to eternal damnation. Boom! Suddenly, a burst of energy erupted from the gray-robed man's body. He slammed his palm heavily on the ground, and in an instant, the ground beneath Yun Luofeng's feet collapsed, forming a huge black hole. Yun Xiao quickly protected Yun Luofeng in her arms. Just as the two of them were about to fall into the huge black hole. Be careful! Fu Sheng turned pale with fright. She hurriedly stepped forward and tightly grabbed Yun Luofeng's arm. However, the black hole seemed to have a powerful force that sucked them in. Chapter 760. Master, I'll help you. Long Fei's face paled. Just as he was about to step forward, Fu Sheng raised his hand and slammed it into Long Fei's chest. He shouted, Let's go! Bang! Long Fei's body fell backward. He could only watch helplessly as the three people were swallowed by the black hole. Master! After a long time, a shout shook the sky, causing the birds resting on the trees to flap their wings and flee. After Yun Luofeng and the others fell into the black hole, the entire hole was filled up again. The ground returned to its previous smooth state, as if nothing had happened just now. Hee. The gray-robed man laughed coldly. His body lay weakly on the ground as blood flowed continuously from his mouth. Since you won't let me have an easy time, I won't let you live either. The dark green flame was still burning on his body, as if it was burning his life. Coupled with the fact that he had forcefully broken the taboo, his body was so weak that he couldn't even lift a finger. Long Fei stood up from the ground and walked towards the gray-robed man. The flame on the gray-robed man's body seemed to have a mind of its own. It allowed Long Fei to pierce through it without hurting him at all. Tell me, where did you take them? The veins on Long Fei's forehead bulged. He grabbed the gray-robed man's clothes and asked angrily. Hearing this, the gray-robed man spat out a mouthful of blood and sneered. 1,000 meters underground. No matter how capable they are, they won't be able to escape. Even if he died, he would drag a few of them down with him. Bastard! Long Fei kicked the gray-robed man's stomach. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Release them immediately. Otherwise, I'll make you wish you were dead. The gray-robed man sneered and closed his eyes, allowing Long Fei's foot to fall on his chest. Long Fei! Su Zheng sighed and went forward to pull Long Fei's body. He frowned and said, There's no point in torturing him now. The most urgent thing to do is to think of a way to save them. As for his punishment, it won't be too late to punish him after we save them. Long Fei stopped and glared fiercely at the gray-robed man. Don't even think about running away. If I don't turn your bones into ashes, I swear I'm not a human. As soon as he finished speaking, a disdainful voice suddenly rang out from behind him. I've said it before, evil people will be punished. Now retribution has come. People like that should die without a burial place. Lin Yuan sneered at the two of them. All along, the one he feared was Yun Xiao, and he did not place anyone else in his eyes. Now that Yun Xiao was not here, why would he need to be weak? Long Fei's gaze turned towards Lin Yuan. What did you say just now? My words are very clear. People like them deserve to die. Now that you've ended up like this, it's retribution. When he thought of how Yun Luofeng had destroyed so many of his medicinal herbs, Lin Yuan's heart trembled. He wished that he could tear Yun Luofeng into 1,000 pieces. Just as Long Fei was exasperated, Su Zhang suddenly took 2 steps forward and stared at Lin Yuan with a sharp gaze. Do you think that no one here can do anything to you? Is that why you dare to be so arrogant? Lin Yuan's gaze turned cold. He did not forget that Long Fei had addressed Fu Shang as master. This man was Fu Shang's junior brother. When he thought that Fu Shang had actually come into contact with another man, he felt extremely unhappy and his tone became even more impudent. Chapter 761. I'm only speaking the truth. Lin Yuan straightened his neck and spoke unyieldingly. So what if you're Fu Shang's junior brother? Could it be that you can still fight me in your current condition? Prior to this, Su Zhang had already fought against the seal, and had even suffered countless rebound injuries. It was impossible for him to recover in such a short period of time. This was why Lin Yuan dared to provoke him. Roar! Su Zhang roared furiously. Then his body was enveloped by a light. When the light dissipated, a gigantic tiger appeared on the ground. A spiritual beast. This fella is a spiritual beast? A spiritual beast that can transform into a human? Oh my God. He must be a venerable spiritualist who has eaten a transformation herb. Once a spiritual beast became a venerable spiritualist, it could consume a transformation herb and transform into a human. Although there were 2 venerable spiritualist spiritual beasts, once one transformed into a human, the other would not be a match for it. Therefore, when everyone saw that Su Zhang was a spiritual beast, they were dumbfounded, especially since they had not gotten along well with the spiritual beast during this period of time, and it had even mocked Yun Luofeng in front of him. Lin Yuan's expression changed. You're injured. Are you going to fight so many of us with your injured body? Firstly, I'm not going to fight everyone. I'm only going to fight you. Secondly, even if all of you were to fight me, I'd like to see if you can defeat me. Su Zhang scoffed as a bloodthirsty light flickered in his eyes. Suddenly, a voice came from the front. The voice was filled with doubt. Looks like something serious has happened in the forest of no return. However, I wonder if I can ask you about 2 people? A lady in red smiled valiantly and elegantly on a fine horse. A handsome man sat in front of her. The man's eyes were cold and his face was as if it had been carved, which was perfect. The lady in red was obviously speaking to the humans. After all, she was from the same clan as humans, and spiritual beasts had always hated humans. Who do you want to ask about? Lin Yuan was overjoyed. He could already feel that the 2 of them were very powerful. With their help, they might be able to defeat these beast kings. The 2 people I want to ask about are a pair of fiancés. They are called Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao. Have you seen them in the forest of no return? Lin Yuan and the rest were stunned. Even though there was enmity between him and Yun Luofeng, he had never known Yun Luofeng's name. Therefore, the red-clothed lady's question had stumped him. The woman in red frowned slightly. When she saw the puzzled expressions on their faces, she knew that they did not recognize her son and daughter-in-law. Looks like they're not here. Brother Yi, let's go. She turned around to leave, but in the next moment, she suddenly noticed a peculiar light in the spiritual beast's eyes, and it stopped in its tracks. Brother from the spirit beast clan, do you know who these 2 people are? The woman in red cupped her fists and asked. She did not expect the spiritual beast to answer her question, but she did not want to let go of this last ray of hope either. Naturally, she had asked the question. Su Zhang and Long Fei looked at each other. then turned towards the woman in red and asked, "What's your relationship with them?" He had already made up his mind. If they were enemies, he would not say another word. Chapter 762. When Su Zheng finished speaking, the lady in red was excited and quickly asked, "Do you know the whereabouts of Miss Xiao and Luo Feng? If you do, please tell me and I'll owe you a favor." The excitement in her eyes was not fake and it silenced Su Zheng. "Master's uncle, let me tell you." Longfei slowly stepped forward and patted Su Zheng's back. He then looked at the lady in red. "Yun Luo Feng is my master and Yun Xiao is her man. I don't know what the relationship between you and my master is, but I can tell you, they were framed and fell thousands of meters underground. I'm afraid they won't be able to come out again." Like a bolt from the blue, the lady in red was stunned on the spot. Then, a wave of anger surged from her chest and she said angrily, Who framed them? Get out here right now." Lin Yuan was completely dumbfounded. His hope of getting lucky collapsed instantly. He subconsciously hid himself under a tree to make himself invisible. Unfortunately, the lady in red did not have the time to care about him. Her gaze followed the direction Longfei was pointing at and looked at the man in gray in the flames. "You did it." Hearing this, the man in gray scoffed and did not answer. "Good, very good," the lady in red said coldly. "Brother Yi, wait for me at the side. I'll teach this bastard a lesson." The man in gray remained silent. He was just getting beaten up. No matter how cruel the beating was, it was not as cruel as the flames surrounding him. Master was really cruel. He threw him into the flames and let him self-destruct. However, he did not know when the flames would burn him to ashes. The lady in red slowly walked to the side of the man in gray and looked down at him condescendingly. "I'll give you one chance. Let them out or I'll let you experience a fate worse than death." The man in gray sneered. "Let them out? Do you think I'll agree? If you want to kill me, then kill me. If you want to cut me up, then cut me up. Don't talk so much nonsense." The lady in red narrowed her eyes slightly. "All right, then I'll do as you wish. Brother Yi, give me the knife." "Knife? What do you want?" "Cut me up into pieces." Didn't he say that he could do whatever he wanted? Then she would do as he wished. Yi Jingchen handed the knife to the woman in red. After receiving the knife, the woman in red slashed at the man in gray's arm. Ah! A shrill cry resounded through the sky. The gray-robed man was in so much pain that his body began to tremble. Coupled with the pain of being burned by the flames, he was simply living a life worse than death. "Tell me, how do we save them?" "I don't know." The gray-robed man gritted his teeth. The woman in red didn't say anything and slashed down again. The flesh on his arm was sliced into pieces, revealing his white bones. Everyone felt a chill run down their spines when they saw this scene. None of them had expected that this woman, who was so beautiful, would attack without hesitation. Furthermore, she did not even frown when she cut off the gray-robed man's flesh. It was as if she was cutting through pork. No, I really don't know, please let me go." "Let you go? Didn't you say I could cut him up if I wanted to? Now that I've fulfilled your wish, why are you begging for mercy?" The woman in red's voice caused the gray-robed man's body to tremble even more. The dark green flames caused his soul to be in extreme agony. Her methods caused his flesh to be in excruciating pain. These two combined would make him wish he was dead. Chapter 763. I really don't know. The gray-robed man's forehead was dripping with sweat as he laid in a pool of blood. His voice was trembling as he said, "They won't be able to get out unless they dig 1,000 feet into the ground." "Dig 1,000 feet into the ground?" The lady in red frowned slightly. "Was that the only way?" "Brother Yi," she turned to Yi Jingchen. "Go back and look for them. I'll find them even if I have to dig 1,000 feet into the ground." "All right." Yi Jingchen nodded slightly. "Wait for me here. I'll be back soon." Slap! Yi Jingchen lashed the horse with his whip, and the horse immediately galloped in the direction behind him. The lady in red's gaze gradually turned to Lin Yuan and the others. "Why did you say that you don't know Miss Xiao and Luo Feng?" Lin Yuan's body trembled and he almost cried. "We really don't know their names. Don't know their names? The lady in red's gaze was full of doubt as she asked in confusion. Didn't you all come to this place together? Why don't you know? Just as Lin Yuan was thinking of ways to explain, Long Fei had already walked in front of the lady in red. Of course he doesn't know my master's life because my master has a grudge against him, so he won't reveal his name. A grudge? The lady in red's initially surprised gaze turned extremely sharp in an instant as she asked sternly, "What's going on?" Long Fei glanced at Lin Yuan, who was trembling all over. The main reason is that he has a daughter. His daughter fell for Master's man and did not hesitate to plot against Master to cause a misunderstanding between the two of them, who knew that it would be seen through. As for him, it was because Master did not believe him like the others when he said those righteous words, so he flew into a rage out of humiliation. Seeing that the lady in red's expression was getting uglier, Long Fei continued, "Oh right. He also said that Master and young Master Yun Xiao fell into the ground and it was their own fault. The wind in the sky had long disappeared. It was calm and peaceful. However, under such calm weather, a hurricane was set off around the lady in red, causing her clothes to flutter. Based on your daughter's virtue, I'm afraid Miss Xiao won't like her." The woman in red smiled coldly. "If he really let your daughter get her way, then I will have to doubt his judgment." The woman in red was very confident in her son's judgment. Not all kinds of women could enter his eyes. Lin Yuan opened his mouth and wanted to defend himself. However, he was so frightened by the sharp gaze of the red-clothed lady that he lost his voice. But she, on the other hand, did not hesitate to scheme just to get Miss Xiao. The lady in red slowly walked towards Lin Yuan with her gaze turning colder. "As for you, you want Miss Xiao and Maple to trust you? Do you think you have the qualifications?" She stopped in her tracks. Her silky black hair danced in the wind, making her aura even more powerful and sharp, full of heroic spirit. Among the survivors who were killed by the man in gray, one of them exclaimed in shock, "I remember, the man who just left, he seems to be from the Yi family." "Yi family? Are you talking about the number 1 family in Tianyun?" Lin Yuan was finished this time. He actually provoked the Yi clan. It is said that the ancestor of the Yi clan has already reached the realm above the Venerable Spirit realm. Above the Venerable Spirit realm was the Holy Spirit realm, which was also one of the few powerhouses in the Wuhui mainland. Lin Yuan's expression became uglier as he stared at the lady in red. "What is your relationship with Yun Luofeng and the others?" The chapter was posted the wrong way before. I have changed it now, but the title can't be changed. Chapter 764. What relationship do I have with them? The lady in red laughed as she raised her eyebrows slightly. "Yun Xiao is my son and Yun Luofeng is my daughter-in-law. What relationship do you think I have with them?" It was like a bolt of lightning striking down, stunning Lin Yuan on the spot. What did she just say? That man who was as cold as a god of death was her son? In other words, both of them were from the Yi family. No. If he was her son, why would his surname be Yun and not Yi? Long Fei was also stunned. Wasn't young Master Yun Xiao an orphan? When did a mother appear? However, regardless of whether this was true or not, the lady in red was protecting her master and young Master Yun Xiao. Just this alone was enough. The lady in red glanced at the dazed Lin Yuan and said coldly, "Now, do you know why I want to punish you? You treated my son and daughter-in-law in such a manner. Why do you think I should let you off?" As she spoke, the lady in red took a few steps forward as a murderous aura surged from her body. Lin Yuan took 2 steps back in fear and swallowed his saliva with difficulty. I didn't know that they were from the Yi family. As the saying goes, the ignorant are not guilty, so... Hua! The lady in red waved her sleeves slightly and a powerful force shot out swiftly, landing fiercely on Lin Yuan's stomach. Lin Yuan flew out in an instant as he spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was extremely pale. "I'll give you a chance. Dig 1,000 feet into the ground with me later." The lady in red raised her chin slightly. "Because of this, I can leave your corpses intact." Lin Yuan's face turned even paler. Just as he was about to reject her, The lady in red's voice caused his words to become stuck in his throat. You can refuse to help, but believe me, I will make your deaths worse than the gray-robed man's. She wasn't talking about you, but all of you. Obviously, she included the other powerful cultivators as well. Fear flashed across the crowd's faces as they were filled with hatred and anger towards Lin Yuan. If not for him, perhaps they would not have encountered so much danger. All right, you can start working now. The lady in red flicked her sleeves and found a tree stump to sit on. Heroine. A weak voice came out from the crowd. We don't have shovels. How are we going to dig? No shovels? Then use your hands. Are you going to take the initiative to dig? Or do I have to supervise you? She pulled out a leather whip from her waist and flung it on the ground. There was a fierce look in her eyes. Hurry up and go. As soon as he finished speaking, those people who had been indifferent immediately pissed their pants in fear. They staggered towards the ground that had swallowed Yun Luofeng and the others, using their hands to dig the ground. Underground, Yun Luofeng sat in a passageway, dumbfounded. He was somewhat speechless. Fu Sheng was a little surprised. There's actually a passage here? And it was such a long tunnel? I wonder who was so powerful to be able to dig such a long path. The corner of Yun Luofeng's eyebrow twitched slightly. This passage was dug by the gold-seeking rat in my hands. It leads to the outside of the forest of no return. I didn't expect to fall back into the tunnel. The look in Fu Sheng's eyes became more and more surprised. Perhaps he did not expect that this passageway was formed because of Yun Luofeng. They never expected that they would be so lucky to fall back into the tunnel. Chapter 765. Yun Luofeng smiled and turned to look at Yun Xiao. Yun Xiao, I haven't asked you yet. How did you know that it wasn't me? Intuition. Yun Xiao's voice was low and hoarse. The feeling he gave me was different from yours. Besides, Lin Ruoxin framed me back then and deliberately made people think that I wanted to rape that young man. Why did you choose to believe me? Because... Yun Xiao raised her head and looked at Yun Luofeng seriously. I knew you wouldn't. No matter how others misunderstood her. It was enough as long as he knew that she wouldn't. Fu Sheng's body trembled slightly and she fell into deep thought. Trust? So it turns out that when you love someone, you have to give them all your trust. It was precisely because she hadn't trusted him enough that she had been deceived by the things before her eyes. That was why she had missed out on him for so many years. Even if she had understood everything later on, she couldn't go back to the past. Thank you. Fu Sheng opened her mouth slightly, her eyes filled with gratitude. As intelligent as she was, how could she not know that Yun Luofeng had purposely said those words for her to hear? Yun Luofeng smiled. She had indeed said those words on purpose. Her goal was to let Fu Sheng understand that when you love someone, you have to trust them, and this was all she could do for Tianya. Let's go. Yun Luofeng gently shrugged her shoulders. Once the gray-robed man is dead, the seals on the other beast kings will be released. I'm no longer needed here. Fu Sheng smiled gently. In the future, if you encounter any danger, come to the forest of no return. All the spiritual beasts in the forest of no return will fight to the death to ensure your safety. Yun Luofeng did not say anything else and walked towards the front of the tunnel. Yun Xiao followed closely by her side, her grim black robes fluttering despite the lack of wind. A smile appeared in Fu Sheng's eyes as she watched the two leave. She quickly chased after them. The tunnel was extremely long and inclined upwards. Fortunately, the three of them were not weak, so this degree of inclination was nothing to them. Yun Luofeng did not know how long she had walked before she saw a ray of light. When she saw the light, she could not help but quicken her pace. Sunlight cascaded down into the cave. When Yun Luofeng stepped out of the cave, she could feel the warmth of the sunlight. A gentle smile appeared on her beautiful face. We're finally out. She turned around and looked at Fu Sheng, who was following closely behind her. Yun Xiao and I should leave the forest of no return. When you return, say goodbye to Long Fei on my behalf. Good. Fu Sheng smiled. It's my disciple's fortune to have met you. Yun Luofeng took one last look at Fu Sheng before turning to look at the man beside her. At this moment, her smile was exceptionally charming. Yun Xiao, let's go. Fu Sheng raised her head and stared at the two figures walking forward. Then, she turned around and quickly walked towards the forest of no return. In the depths of the forest of no return, it was a barren land of disciples. All the trees had been burnt to a crisp, leaving only a few stumps. At this moment, a group of people were desperately digging the soil on the bare land. They were so tired that they were drenched in sweat, but they did not stop. Yi Jingchen stood next to the woman in red and hugged her tightly. He comforted her. Juner, don't worry. They'll definitely be safe and sound. The woman in red clenched her fists tightly as worry filled her eyes. In the end, she took a deep breath and said, Brother Yi, give me a shovel. I'll help too. Chapter 766. Yi Jingchen was startled, but he didn't say anything. He ordered the people next to him to bring 2 shovels. Su Zhang had already joined the digging team. His claws were sharper than any shovel, and he was digging the ground with all his might. Ha ha! A weak voice that could disappear at any time came from the mountain path. It's useless. You can't save them. By the time you dig 1,000 feet into the ground, they will have been suffocated to death. The woman in red glanced at the man in gray coldly. Yo, you're not dead yet? There's only one kind of person I, Jun Fengling, admire the most in my life. People who can't die no matter how much I beat, cut, or burn them. On the mountain path, the man in gray's body had already emitted a burnt smell. His flesh had long been cut off by Jun Fengling, revealing his white bones. Even so, he was still panting and staring weakly at Jun Fengling. What are you doing? But at this moment, a light voice came from behind everyone, and there was a clear look of confusion in her eyes. Hearing this familiar voice, the shovel in Long Fei's hand fell to the ground with a thud. He stiffly turned his head, and when he saw the green-robed woman slowly walking towards him, he suddenly felt as if his throat was choked. Master. Long Fei, what are you doing? Fu Sheng frowned slightly and asked. Long Fei's body suddenly trembled, and a look of excitement appeared on his face. He no longer cared about anything else and rushed towards Fu Sheng. At this moment, everyone could feel his inner emotions. Master. Long Fei only stopped when he was in front of Fu Sheng. His voice was still trembling as he asked, Are you all right? Fu Sheng nodded slightly. I've made you worry. By the way, Master, where are my masters? Why didn't they come out with you? Also, why did you come from another direction? In an instant, Jun Fengling put down the shovel in his hand and looked at Fu Sheng. Fu Sheng curled his lips slightly. There happened to be a passage under the ground. We passed through that passage and arrived outside the forest of no return. The 2 of them have already left. Left? Jun Fengling was stunned for a moment. After coming back to his senses, he looked determined and said, Brother Yi, let's go. The 2 of them shouldn't have gone too far. Wait a minute. Yi Jingchen seemed to have thought of something. His eyes scanned the crowd and finally landed on a middle-aged man. Please draw their portraits for me. Jun Fengling was stunned. She had forgotten that they had never seen Yun Xiao and Yun Luofeng before. If they were to search blindly, when would they be able to find them? The middle-aged man shuddered. I don't know how to draw. The painter is from the Jia family. Yet you're telling me that you don't know how to draw. Yi Jingchen sneered. Do you think I'll believe you? However, in order to save time, you can only come with us first. I'll let you go after you're done. However, if the characters you draw don't look like them, then you should understand the Yi family's methods. The middle-aged man was terrified, but he didn't dare to resist. He swallowed his saliva and asked, Will you really let me go after I finish drawing it? Yi Jingchen nodded. Not bad. All right, I'll go with you. Chapter 767. It was better to follow them than to stay in the forest of no return. Brother Yi, I suddenly forgot that there's one more thing to deal with. Jun Fengling's lips curled slightly, her phoenix eyes glancing at the trembling Lin Yuan. I almost forgot about this person. Thinking of this, she turned to Su Zhang. Spirit beasts have always liked to tear their food apart. I'll leave this human to you spirit beasts. Do it as cruelly as you can. It's best if you make him wish he was dead. No, Lin Yuan screamed. You said that you'll leave my corpse intact. You said that you won't torture me. How can you go back on your word? To him, leaving his corpse intact was a luxury. June Fengling gently stroked her chin. Her red dress slowly rose, accentuating her imposing manner. So what if I go back on my word? When have I, June Fengling, ever kept my word? Especially to people like you. Having said that, she strode onto the horse and said, Brother Yi, let's go. Lin Yuan's body was sprawled on the ground, his face ashen. If he had known earlier, he would not have been corrupted by greed and ruined his life. Brother Yi, did you notice that there's something strange about the forest of no return? On the horse, June Fengling hugged the man sitting in front of her. A puzzled look flashed across her eyes. Such a big thing happened in the forest of no return, but the legendary holy beasts never appeared. Do you think something happened to the holy beasts? The reason why the forest of no return was so frightening was because there were a few holy beasts in the forest. One must know that among humans, a clan with a holy spirit could become one of the best. What more the forest of no return which had a few holy beasts. Once the forest of no return lost those holy beasts, it would become a fish on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. The forest of no return, Shao and fallen maple have an unbreakable connection. So we must keep this a secret. Yi Jingchen was silent for a while, then spoke in a voice that only the two of them could hear. I understand. Since those spirit beasts are friendly to Shao and fallen maple, they're our friends. I won't let anyone have any ideas about the forest of no return. June Fengling's expression was resolute. She looked at the group of humans behind her and a fierce look flashed across her eyes. I wonder if these people have sensed anything. If they have sensed the changes in the forest of no return, then let me be the villain and kill these people. If the forest of no return had a good relationship with her son and daughter-in-law, then in order to protect the forest of no return, what was wrong with being the villain for once? No one could know that something had happened to the Holy Spirit beast. Let's go look for Miss Shao and Maple first. I'll send someone to settle the matter here. Don't worry. Yi Jingchen smiled. No matter what June Fengling wanted to do, he would give her the greatest support. Kurgalik. It was not far from the forest of no return, only a few days' journey away. Kurgalik was originally very run down, but after Yi Jingchen, who had been expelled from the Yi family, came, it became more prosperous. At this moment, Yi Shima was about to leave the Yi residence when he heard a voice that sounded like an oriole singing behind him. Big brother, you've been running for so many days and still haven't found them. Why don't you bring me along? Yi blinked and looked at Yi Shima with anticipation. Don't worry, I'll listen to you obediently and won't cause you any trouble. Chapter 768. Yi Shima stopped in his tracks and furrowed his brows. Stay at home and wait for Godfather and Godmother to return. Don't get involved with those scoundrels. After saying this, Yi Shima walked out of the courtyard without looking back. Yi bit her lip as she stared in the direction where Yi Shima had left. Her eyes were filled with indignation. Why was it that no matter how hard she tried and how obedient she was, Big Brother still hated her? What should she do to get rid of his prejudice against her? Yi Shima walked out of the courtyard and looked at the vast sky. He frowned slightly and said, It's been a few days. I've been to all the surrounding cities, big and small, but I can't find them. How am I going to find my brother and sister-in-law? Ha ha ha. Suddenly, a giggle could be heard from a tree nearby. Yi Shima looked in the direction of the voice and saw a little girl with 2 pigtails sitting on a tree. The little girl was as fair as jade, and when she smiled, her eyes were like crescent moons. She was wearing a fiery red dress, which made her look even more adorable and beautiful. Huahua, why did you come out? Yi Shima was stunned. To be honest, he still did not know where this little girl came from. He only knew that his godfather had brought her out of the Yi family. However, the Yi family did not seem to know about this little girl's existence. The little girl's feet dangled on the tree. She held onto the tree trunk with both hands and smiled adorably. You're so stupid. I heard from Yi Jingchen that the lady named Yun Luofeng is a doctor. If that's the case, she'll definitely be interested in the black market in the neighboring city. This little girl was the only person in the entire Kargalik who dared to call Yi Jingchen by his name. However, Yi Jingchen was very indulgent about this. Fortunately, this little girl did not appear in public. Otherwise, they would definitely misunderstand that she was his daughter. Are you talking about Qin City? Yi Shima's eyes lit up. How could he have forgotten that there were many medicinal herbs in the black market that could not be bought even at auctions? Of course, if one wanted to buy precious medicinal herbs, one had to be observant. Since Yun Luofeng was a doctor, she would definitely be interested in the black market in Qin City, and he had actually forgotten about this. Fire, I really have to thank you this time. If it wasn't for you pointing me in the right direction, I wouldn't know how to find him. Yi Shima laughed heartily. Fire curled his lips. Don't be in such a hurry to thank me. I helped you guys because Yi Jingchen said he would help me find someone. If he hadn't agreed to my request, I wouldn't have left the Yi family with him. Fire, I have never asked you, what is your relationship with the Yi family? Also, who is the person you were looking for? Why do you always appear and disappear unpredictably? In the Yi residence, other than Yi Jingchen and Jun Fengling, only Yi Shima knew of Fire's existence. Even Yi Qi had never seen her before. Don't ask me so many questions, I don't want to answer you. Fire jumped down from the tree and landed in front of Yi Shima. However, I can tell you that I will only stay by your side for 3 years. This is what I promised Yi Jingchen. You don't want to answer my other questions, but my surname is Yi after all. Can you tell me your relationship with the Yi family? Why has no one discovered you after staying in the Yi family for so many years? Yi Shima asked curiously. Chapter 769. Hearing this, Fire pursed his lips. Yi family? They don't deserve to know of my existence. Yi Shima blinked and looked at the little girl standing in front of him in surprise. Fire patted Yi Shima's shoulder. Aren't you going to the medical city? This time I plan to go with you. Yi Shima was stunned. You want to go to the medical city with me? Fire nodded his head. The person I'm looking for should also be a doctor. She used should, not sure. This made Yi Shima even more confused. Could it be that Fire didn't know who he was looking for? Big brother. At this moment, Yi Qi's clear voice came from the door. After hearing this voice, Yi Shima subconsciously used his body to block Fire because he knew that Fire didn't want too many people to know of her existence. Even so, Yi Qi still caught a glimpse of Fire, who was blocked behind Yi Shima. Big brother, she. Who is she? Yi Qi bit her lips tightly, and her expression didn't look too good. Her big brother, who had always been cold to her, was now so protective of a little girl, as if he was afraid that she would hurt this little girl. Yi Shima, it's time for us to set off. Fire didn't even look at Yi Qi. He flicked the dust off his red dress and said with his mouth pursed. All right. Yi Shima retracted his gaze and nodded lightly. Carry me. Yi Shima looked at the little girl in front of him speechlessly. Don't you have legs? I don't want to walk. Carry me. Fire was very willful. Otherwise, I'll tell Yi Jingchen that you bullied me. Yi Shima squatted down helplessly. Come on up. Fire's face revealed a bright smile as she climbed onto Yi Shima's back. Her eyes were very bright, like the bright moon. Big brother. Looking at the scene in front of her, Yi Qi couldn't believe it. The big brother that she had always respected was actually carrying a little girl on his back. Moreover, this little girl even called her foster father by his name. Yi Qi, guard the Yi residence. I'm going to leave for a few days. Yi Shima turned to look at Yi Qi. After giving her some instructions, he walked toward the city gate. Fire, you're so heavy. It's time to lose weight. Stupid Shimo. What nonsense are you talking about? Fire slapped Yi Shima on the head and said angrily, I'm very light. I'm lighter than a feather. You're too weak. Lighter than a feather? What would that become? The corners of Yi Shima's mouth twitched, and a look of helplessness flashed across his handsome face. This girl was really a living ancestor. Qin City was famous for its black market. Many doctors came here because of its reputation. Thus, Qin City was always bustling no matter what. But at this moment, a panicked voice suddenly came from the originally bustling street. Quick! Get out of the way, it's the Mu family. For the Mu clan to be so flustered, did something happen? No matter what it is, it's better for us to stay away so that we don't get into trouble. I don't want to provoke the Mu clan. Everyone moved a few meters away. Even the people who were setting up stalls hurriedly closed their stalls to avoid the rampaging team. In the black market, the noise stopped as a group of people arrived. Everyone looked at the Mu clan who was rushing over and was so scared that they didn't dare to speak. Chapter 770. The leader of the Mu family was a cold and handsome man. He held a large knife in his hand and stabbed it into the ground with a bang. Everyone here, listen up. Hand over all the medicinal ingredients in the black market. Furthermore, all the other doctors who came to the black market, hand over all your medicinal ingredients as well. Not a single one is missing. Yun Luofeng, who was selecting medicinal ingredients in front of the black market stall, stopped what he was doing when he heard this. He smirked and swept his gaze over the Mu family. This is a robbery? The stall owner trembled and said, the Mu family used to be bandits who occupied the mountains. Later on, they became stronger and established a family. Therefore, it is not surprising that they would behave like bandits. Yun Luofeng stroked his chin and narrowed his eyes with a dangerous glint. Robbery? It was just a matter of who was robbing who. The man from the Mu family saw that no one was moving and became even angrier. Did you not hear what I said? Hand over all the medicinal ingredients immediately. If you hide even one, I will not let you off easily. The stall owners were all ordinary people who were lucky enough to obtain some medicinal ingredients and sell them in the black market. However, the doctors who were selecting medicinal ingredients were not easy to get along with. Heh! An old man sneered and looked at the man from the Mu family with disdain. Mu family, you sure talk big. Are you trying to offend all the doctors in the world? Ha ha ha! The man laughed maniacally. Doctors? Others might be afraid of you, but my Mu family has never been afraid. I don't care if you are doctors or anyone else. You must hand over the medicinal ingredients. Otherwise, I will use your blood to wash my knife. He waved the knife in his hand and his face carried a hint of viciousness. What do you need so many medicinal ingredients for? The old man was a little angry. You can't become fat in one bite. It is useless for you to have so many medicinal ingredients. The man snorted. If the medicinal ingredients were useless, I would not have come to rob you. As for their use, I do not need to tell you. The old man was so angry that his body trembled. He pointed at the man but could not say a word. If you do not want to die, hand over the medicinal ingredients. The man looked around with a fierce gaze and said sternly, if you don't hand over the medicinal ingredients, I will start a massacre. The man's expression was too ferocious. Coupled with that frightening broadsword, he successfully frightened everyone present. No matter how unwilling they were, those people still agreed to take out the medicinal herbs. In the entire crowd, only Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao didn't make any movements, and they looked as if this matter had nothing to do with them. Miss, hand over the medicinal ingredients as well. The people from the Mu clan are not to be trifled with. The peddler next to him kindly reminded him and sighed slightly. Yun Luofeng did not seem to hear him at all. His peerless features lit up with a smile as his pitch-black eyes stared quietly at the Mu family. The man from the Mu family waved his hand and ordered his subordinates to use a burlap sack to collect the herbs. Then, he discovered Yun Luofeng, who was standing there without moving, and his eyebrows furrowed together. Did the two of you not hear what I said? Or are you not afraid of death? Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes slightly and said with an evil smile, I really want to know if you have the ability to snatch the medicinal herb from my hands.